Good morning. In accordance with Sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. My name is Larry Clay, and I'll be chairing today's session. Panel members today are Ryan Bissonnette and Phil Gauche. Our Deputy Secretary Treasurer today is Sabrina Salatino. We acknowledge the land we are meeting on is a traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Committee of Adjustment public hearings are now conducted in a hybrid in-person and virtual format. Some applicants and participants will make their submissions in person, and others will participate virtually by electronic means through WebEx. The meetings are also streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel, and anyone wishing to view the hearing may watch on YouTube. Those who want to participate virtually and have registered in advance will be connecting with their computer or telephone and have the option of participating via video or audio only. When your item is called, you'll be unmuted by the moderator. Those who want to participate virtually and have registered in advance will be connecting with their computer or telephone and have the option of participating via video or audio only. Oh, I've read that already. For both in-person and virtual participants, the Committee of Adjustment staff will share presentations submitted in accordance with the written submission deadline. People attending in person today who want to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on an application must fill out a decision request card, and those participating virtually need to submit a written request for a decision by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, you may be able to appeal the decision to the Toronto Local Appeal Body or, in some limited circumstances, to the Ontario Land Tribunal. However, the provincial government amended the Planning Act and generally removed rights of third parties to appeal Committee of Adjustment decisions. Only the applicant, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, specified persons and public bodies are permitted to appeal decisions of the Committee of Adjustment. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision. Today, I'll call each item in the order listed on the agenda. Where an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant may proceed with their presentation if desired. When the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to speak to the committee. The committee may ask questions and/or take the matter into committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee, and I'll comment when you're reaching the 5-minute mark. Any presentation or other materials you wish to submit to committee must have been emailed in advance of the hearing. Staff and committee members cannot accept new materials at the hearing. When addressing the committee, please clearly state your name and address, and remember to confine your remarks to matters outlined in the application. The applicant or agent will proceed first and make a presentation to committee. Then individuals either in support or oppose the application will be invited to speak. Generally, we call first on speakers in the hearing room and then those participating through WebEx. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they've finished their presentation. When all speakers are finished, the applicant or agent has an opportunity to rebut those issues that were raised by the speakers. This will mark the end of the discussion. The application will be taken into committee for a decision. Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, any minutes to confirm?
Good morning, Mr. Chair and panel members. No minutes for adoption at this time.
Okay, any declarations of interest, panel staff? None this morning. Any files to be closed?
Through you, Mr. Chair, see none.
And we have some deferral requests.
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes. Item number 11, file number A0390/25TEY, and item number 14, file number A0402/25TEY. We can probably deal with both of these at this time.
Okay. We'll deal with item number 11 first. This is 49 West Lynn Avenue. This is an application to construct a new one-story ancillary building, a recreational space with a storage area in the rear yard of the existing two-story semi-detached dwelling. Committee has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 5 photographs of the subject property, and a deferral request from the agent. We have staff reports from Urban Forestry and Community Planning, and an advisory report from Metrolinx.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent online, no registered speakers for this item.
Great. Good morning.
Good morning. Sorry, my audio cut out for a second. Vladimir Bullock speaking.
Your address, sir?
7 Dunbar Drive, Whitby.
Great, thank you. You're seeking a deferral this morning?
Yes, please.
And the reason for that?
We did not have the sign posted, and we are actually submitting a revision.
Okay, that's pretty much an automatic. All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Panel, can I get a motion to defer?
Motion to defer.
Motion by Mr. Bissonnette to defer, seconded by Mr. Gauche. All in favor? You have your deferral. Thank you. Next item, Sabrina, was?
Item number 14.
Item number 14, 38 Collahie Street. This is an application to construct a new two-story ancillary building containing one garden suite with stairs at the southeast portion of the building, leading to a rooftop patio with a green roof in the rear yard of the property abutting Gladstone Avenue. No bicycle parking spaces will be provided. The existing garage will be demolished. There will be a total of 2 residential dwelling units on the lot. Committee has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 4 photographs of the subject property, a deferral request from the agent. We have correspondence from Transportation Services and staff report from Transportation Review and from Urban Forestry. There are 3 form letters in support from 26 and 31 Collahie. There is correspondence in opposition from 215 Gladstone and 34 and 36 Collahie. We have the agent, Mr. Oh,
yes,
sorry.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent online. We also have 2 registered speakers.
All right.
In opposition.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me well?
Yes, I can. Mr. Stambuk?
Yes, my name is Ozran Stambuk. I'm at 15 Moreland Road.
Okay, sir, you're seeking a deferral this morning?
Yes, we're seeking a deferral here because just in a way of a small background as to why we were hoping to take a garage that was unusable, that was going over the property line, so it could never be rebuilt to the same dimensions. It was encroaching by maybe 2 feet onto the city boulevard. We were hoping to take that, create a dwelling unit, and to also provide green space. But the owners, we received such opposition such early on from departments, including transportation services asking us to remove the curb cut. So the owners were sufficiently discouraged by that what we're going to do is actually ask for deferral and probably come back to this application not with a garden suite because of the opposition we're facing from departments. We're okay with the neighborhood opposition and support. We could explain those issues, but it's I think it was one straw too far with transportation services getting involved and asking us to remove a curb cut, a perfectly usable curb cut. So that's our situation right now. So we'd like to ask for deferral. Yeah.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We'll go to our first speaker.
Yes. They're not online anymore? No? Okay. Okay, through you, Mr. Chair, they're not online, so they must know about the deferral.
All right. Okay, we don't have any speakers. Can we get a motion? Phil?
Yeah, I move to defer this.
Okay, motion to defer by Mr. Gauche, seconded by Mr. Bissonnette. All in favor? You have your deferral. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, now we'll move on to item number 1.
Okay, we're back to the beginning of the agenda. This is 36 Prince Arthur Avenue. This is an application to convert the existing 2.5-story commercial building into a mixed-use building by constructing a rear 5-story addition. This altered building will contain 1 non-residential unit, including 1 bar and 5 office spaces. 1 residential unit to be located on the 5th story, a side 3rd and 4th story terraces, a side 5th story terrace, a rear parking pad, and a rear yard ancillary building for waste and recyclable material storage. The existing building is a heritage building. Committee has before it a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 6 photographs of the subject property, an arborist report, a heritage impact assessment, and presentation materials from the agent. We have staff reports from Urban Forestry and Heritage Planning. We have correspondence and concern from 20 Prince Arthur, correspondence in opposition from 49 Lowther, and 2123 Bedford Road. And from 36A Prince Arthur Avenue. There are materials in opposition from 2123 Bedford Road.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent here in person as well as one registered speaker in opposition.
Good morning, Mr. Bronskill.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Just for the record, last name's Bronskill, Bronskill, first initial D for David, 333 Bay Street, Suite 3400 in Toronto, here as agent for the applicant.
Great. We'll start off by just asking, you've seen the Heritage report with the recommendations to either defer or refuse this application. Are you planning to proceed this morning, or what's your intention?
I'd like to deal with that first. We would like to proceed, and I'm going to give you 3 reasons why we'd like to proceed. One is, I'm choosing my words carefully, we're actually quite shocked by the report. Our client met with Heritage Preservation Services staff a year ago, July 24th. I've got the date. I've got the minutes. ERA was there. The staff member at that time indicated no concerns, particularly with height. In fact, the HIA implements direction from that staff member to look at materiality of other buildings on Prince Arthur. There are images in the HIA that do exactly that. And certainly did not take the position that is in the staff report related to any height not being greater than the height of the eaves, or that it must be in clay brick. So we're a little bit shocked at the staff report. I think there's a miscommunication clearly internally, but we look forward to resolving that with Heritage staff.
Sorry for interrupting you, David.
Yeah.
Have you had conversations, or you or your client had conversations with Heritage after that report's been?
No, we haven't. We frankly just haven't had time. ERA has reached out, but it's a July 23rd report. They didn't tell us it was coming. So it's a little bit surprising. But it's also, let me do my second substantive point just for a minute, but then both of my first 2 points, I'm going to make an odd submission, I think are actually irrelevant based on the third point I'm going to make to you. The second point is that staff report, for example, indicates that the height should be no greater than the height of the ridge of the eaves of that building. I know where they're getting that from, the East Annex HCD. It's one of the opening pages of it. It's a general guideline or policy from a 1994 HCD plan, which has not been updated in accordance with current Ontario Heritage Act standards, mind you. What it ignores is if you actually go into the detailed analysis that the East Annex HCD does street by street, there's a Prince Arthur Street, as there are for all of the streets that are within the boundaries. And I'm just going to quote you something from interpreting the guidelines for buildings on Prince Arthur that I brought with me this morning. Rear yard development similar to but not exceeding the existing density at 35 Prince Arthur, 2.5 times coverage, should be permitted when it ensures the retention of a historic building. So that's point 1 that Heritage staff have not referred to in their staff report to you. 2, substantial development in rear yards is evident on Prince Arthur and is indicative of present commercial uses. There's another quote not in the staff report that's not before you. 3, rear yard additions should not overpower the existing buildings and preferably should have low visibility from the street. I will take you to the renderings when I do the presentation. It's a specific guidance for Prince Arthur that staff have clearly not taken into account in their staff report. But that leads to my third point to you why we'd like to proceed. We acknowledge there is a required heritage permit. There's a process, as you well know, under the Ontario Heritage Act. We'll have to apply for that permit under the Ontario Heritage Act. Section 42.1 of the Ontario Heritage Act has specific tests for ensuring consistency with the goals and objectives of an HCD plan. That'll go to Toronto Preservation Board. It'll go to Toronto and East York Community Council, and it will actually go to City Council. All we're doing here is we would like to figure out the zoning envelope. That's the variances that are before you. I think deferring to allow the process that heritage preservation staff have suggested is wrong for two reasons. One, I'm not sure they've got this right in the staff report, and it's directly contrary to what they told us a year ago. And frankly, why this application has taken so long to come before the committee is there's been good consultation with staff up until this staff report. And two, some of the items in that staff report that they talk about, like materiality, it will get addressed through that permit process. So we'll get the box kind of done today. It doesn't mean we're entitled to that box. We still have to satisfy City Council through that permit process that what we're proposing meets the Heritage Conservation District Plan. We think it does, ERA thinks it does, but that's frankly what happens, I'm going to say this, on every file on which I work. These two processes go in tandem, and to suggest this one should stop because of a last-minute staff report, I don't think is helpful from a heritage staff, particularly given the consultation that's occurred. So that's why we'd like to proceed today.
Yes, Phil.
Can you just give us, because it's not sort of our area of knowledge and expertise, just a very quick outline of what is the process involved to get the heritage permit?
Yeah, so you have to file. This is technically under part...
And the timing.
Yeah, this is technically under Part 5 of the Ontario Heritage Act because it's an HCD. You do need a permit. Part 4 deals with individual designations if you're not in a plan, and there's alteration permits and demolition permits that we often hear about under Part 4. Part 5 still requires an application. There's a test that I think you can't be contrary to the goals and objectives of the plan, I think is the test under Section 42.1 of the Ontario Heritage Act. And then there is an appeal process coming out of that at the end, if council refuses the permit, you can appeal that to the Ontario Land Tribunal. That application would get filed almost immediately after any approval, whether it's here or at TLAB. It's roughly, I would say, in the realm of 3 to 4, but I'll add a contingency of a couple of months and make it 3 to 6. It is open to the public. Toronto Preservation Board, there's opportunity for deputations. Toronto Eastern Community Council, there's opportunities for deputations. Staff will prepare a report and it will ultimately go to City Council. And I would just add, as part of that public process, one of the meetings that occurred in July 3rd last year, was actually with the Annex Residents Association, who, as you may well know, are really strong gatekeepers, particularly of heritage in this area. You'll note they encourage the application to be filed. They're not here in opposition. They're not raising the concerns raised by Heritage Preservation Services. At the time, they raised a concern about a rooftop terrace that they thought was inappropriate. My client took it out. And so that process would continue with them as well as part of that TPB, TEYCC process. So the deferral just makes me nervous. A project like this, I think, gets stuck in limbo if that happens. It's a bit of a chicken and an egg, and we just think this should go forward, and that process will go forward.
And is it like sort of an ordinary procedure to try to get the zoning before you get the heritage permit because you want the heritage permit to reflect the zoning that's allowed?
Yeah, it's often both. In a case like this, so you often have an alteration or demo. If you've got an individually designated property, you often have that application proceeding in tandem with the rezoning. And that's often because you are potentially demolishing a building or you're doing the type of alteration that is we see it, whether it's facadism or not, that's often the criticism, and they're often going in tandem. We've often worked, though, on some where it's about getting the zoning envelope established and then the permit finishes off, and it will often come second. Or you get the zoning done and the permit then catches up and the two of them go to council together, sometimes as a settlement offer if there's an appeal. This is one of the ones where I've worked on where that permit application typically follows because materiality is important. And what often then happens in those ones, you've got your zoning envelope and your permit is often twinned with your site plan application because the materiality from the heritage perspective is not something engaged at the zoning level, but then gets engaged when you're into the detailed design. And that's the HIA that then gets finalized and goes to council. And then that approval often leads to a conservation management plan that also gets implemented afterwards. So there's a lot of detail on a file like this where the materiality is going to be important that is better done afterwards.
Okay. So in your remarks, you indicated that you had discussions with Heritage roughly a year ago.
Yeah, it's July 24th.
And we have a report before us. Is it the same person?
No, it is not.
Okay, so they've reassigned this file to someone
Correct.
else. Okay.
My understanding is the person who is a senior person on July 24th may be on a temporary leave. So there may just be lack of checking notes or lack of internal consultation, and we'll continue that discussion with them.
And I know you're going to deal with this in your presentation of the item, but the existing heritage building, there's no change to the facade, there's no renovations or anything to it. This is simply adding a structure on and behind.
Correct. There's an existing addition on the back that'll come down and would be replaced by what's being proposed. There'll be some work on the existing building in terms of restoration, but not demolition or alteration of that building so that it would disappear.
Okay, great. Maybe now we've heard an awful lot about this application. Maybe you could just take us through what the actual proposal is.
I will, and thank you. And I wanted to deal with that deferral just up front because I know it's sometimes difficult when there's a staff deferral and then you end up being in committee and I'm sitting on my hands wanting to jump into your committee discussions when you're talking about the deferral. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to address that up front. As part of the overview of the application, you did note the purpose, and I do think it's an exciting application that would actually have commercial and office space introduced on this site on Prince Arthur. Just as a really quick background, I wanted to talk a little bit about the land use controls because it's slightly different than I would say the vast majority of applications that come before you. It's a site that is designated mixed-use areas in the official plan. So it's not a neighborhoods application where we're looking at prevailing and you get overwhelmed with the numbers sometimes. It is mixed use, and in fact, it's a block of mixed use which includes the properties to the west and to the north. It's also zoned CR, and there's an existing permission on it for 2 times density, commercial density, and 1 time residential density. That's also zoning for one of the properties in opposition to the north. It's a CR. To the east is a beautifully recognized heritage apartment building. That's designated apartment neighborhoods. And it does have a residential zoning. And it's frankly a spectacular building to the east. And as you know, Prince Arthur, as part of this corridor, does have that mix of uses, and even as noted in the HCD, a mix of commercial uses, and across the street there's an office addition being actually implemented today. This would also include 1 residential unit on the 5th floor. All of this is intended to use for my client who actually grew up in 50 Prince Arthur, that heritage building to the east. His brother actually was the head of the development review for the ARA for years. He has sadly passed away, and there's actually a bench in his memory in Tattle Creek Park, which is just nearby. So this is, my client still lives in the area. They bought this when the property was allegedly going to become a plastic surgery clinic. They see this as used for their family office, for their foundation. Some of their operating companies, some of their senior executives will use this as office space. And it will also then have the residential dwelling, which may be used by the family and in particular by their children over time. I'm just going to quickly go through the variances for you. We actually think it's context sensitive, compatible development based on what's around. There are 2 variances for density. One is for the overall density. As I noted, it's 2 times coverage. This is 2.37 or 237.45%. I'm going to suggest to you at 2.38 rounding up. Over 2, that's the type of density increase through a minor variance that we see all the time. There's also a variance because the commercial or the non-residential would be 204, and that 0.04 takes it over the 2 times trigger. So there's 2 of the 9 variances relate to the FSI. There's a really technical variance related to access, just for stairs and elevators. That's separation from the RA zone to the east, that big residential apartment building. And you recall there's really significant green space between our client's property and that building. There's a required soft landscaping strip on the east side next to that RA. I'll show you a picture in our presentation in a moment. That's the existing condition, frankly, and that can't be provided. There are technical variances related to the location of recycling and garbage. There is a height variance, 12 meters today. We're going up to 18.94. There's also then, I'm going to suggest to you some technical variances related just to where the windows are located in terms of side yard setbacks and the main wall of the house, the existing dwelling. That's an existing condition, variance 7. And then there's a variance related to the rear yard setback, and I think maybe that's the most contentious one, when 7.5 is required, and it's going to be 0.3 from the rear. There is no, contrary to what is being put in some of the materials before you, there's no variance for angular plane. So there's no requirement for any type of angular plane to any of the adjacent properties, so there is no variance on the list for that. If I quickly just go through the presentation for you in my last minute, I wanted to, as I indicated, flag for you a couple of pictures. If staff can start on just page 4, we've got pictures of the existing conditions in photo 2 on the east. That shows you the existing concrete landscape strip to the east of the Heritage Building. We can't, frankly, get a landscaping strip in there today, so that's one of the variances. Photo 1, this is the existing condition to the north, and I will probably come back and talk to you about this based on the letters and if there's a speaker in opposition. That's an existing blank wall on the property line. Those are their air conditioning or HVAC units. We're using that existing context to build the 5-story commercial and residential. So yes, we're coming into the rear yard. Yes, that is technically their side yard, but it's a CR zone built today with a blank wall right along the property line. And so we think it's a context-specific development in that regard. Lastly, sir, I know I'm out of time, but just pages 8 and 9, just because I indicated I would show this to you, based on my excerpt from the East Annex HCD plan. That's one rendering showing you from Prince Arthur, and this was a deliberate move in consultation with HPS to have a different materiality. And if staff could also show just quickly page 8 as well, and then I'll stop. It just shows another angle of what's intended to be at the back, and then you can see the tall residential building on the right-hand side of that photo that's to the east. So we do think it's context-specific. We do think it fits, and we hope to have the committee's support for what we think is a fantastic reuse of this building.
Great, thank you very much. Panel, I think we'll hold comments until we hear from the speaker.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we'll call up the speaker now.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Eldon Theodore from MHBC, Registered Professional Planner, 7050 Western Road, Suite 230, Woodbridge, Ontario.
And your colleague?
That is my client.
Good morning, Frank Pizzolato from 21 and 23 Bedford Road in Toronto.
Great, thank you very much. All right, sir, you have 5 minutes.
Sure, I have a presentation that I've uploaded to the committee. I'd like to go through that. Thank you. So just here on behalf of 23 Bedford House, Inc., as noted, they're the owners of an existing mixed-use residential office building north of the applicant's property. My client has concerns with respect to the 0-meter setback, the height associated with that setback, and soft landscaping variances. Next slide. Just for context, we have provided a formal letter of submission outlining our concerns in detail. But just for, as well for context, the site is located, our applicant's property is to the north of this application, and you can see the applicant's rear yard abuts my client's property in the side yard, as shown in the earlier presentation. Next slide. You can see on the survey here, my client's 3-story building in the rear yard has an established side yard setback of 0 meters. This building was constructed in 1986. It's well before my client purchased this property. It's an existing condition of this property today. It informs the condition today. Next slide. The applicant's proposal would introduce a minimum 0.3 meter or 1 foot setback from the property line rather than the required 7.5 meters as shown in this figure here. Next slide. So these are elevations from the applicant's package, and in that package, the applicant included and illustrated an angular plane that's shown in red. That does not appear to meet any past or current city design guidelines for what I understand as transition separation through angular plane. Regardless, what's being shown here, it only highlights that as it relates to transition, that this is not being met at the 4th and 5th floor, and it will result in impact to my client's property. Next slide. So I know the city's previously used angular plane for rear yard transition as shown on the left here. And typically it's a 7.5 meter setback, a 10.5 meter height, and then you apply your 45-degree angular plane. That's usually for your shallow lot condition. The current standard moves away from angular plane, and I acknowledge that. But what's universal is that 7.5 meter setback to respect that transition, as shown on the right here in the current mid-rise design guidelines, anything above 5 stories and above. Next slide. So when you apply those two realities, the yellow shade being the older transition, the hatch being the new, the proposal clearly doesn't adhere to either one of these standards. Next slide. What is being proposed is establishing a blank wall to blank wall condition between my client's building and their proposed building in a rear yard. In my opinion, this is appropriate only in a side yard where trying to establish a street wall condition, as shown in this figure here on the left. It is not appropriate in the rear yard where you expect to have items such as amenity or landscape within that space. Those are the items that should be promoted in that space. Next slide. So overall, my concerns as it relates to the rear yard variances, this is not minor. It's almost eliminating the rear yard requirement. It doesn't meet the intent and purpose in terms of providing amenity and landscaping. That's not being maintained. The blank wall directly adjacent to the existing wall is not appropriate in a rear yard condition. It does not offer separation or transition. As I've noted, it doesn't follow any guidelines that the city would use to measure development like this. The height variance in combination with this reduced setback results in shadow issues on my client's property, particularly the skylights they have in their existing peaked roof of their rear building. And it does not offer any space for soft landscaping, no on-site circulation around the building, and no opportunity to maintain facades. So overall, my client is, just to be clear, my client is not opposed to this development on this property. What's being proposed is a really great development, but what we're requesting is the application itself be deferred to provide additional time for the applicant to improve that relationship between their proposal and my client's property and come back to the committee with an improved plan. If the application or the applicant chooses not to defer, we respectfully request that the committee refuse this application. Happy to answer any questions.
Great, sir. Thank you. Can you just take a moment? You talked about a lot of different things, but I didn't really hear a clear articulation of what the negative impact of this application is on your client's property. I mean, we saw that there's a blank wall with AC units and HVAC on the ceiling. Like, what's the negative impact?
Sure. A couple items. The blank wall, and first of all, from the applicant's presentation, they've shown a blank wall with HVAC units on it. I can attest that that elevation that's shown doesn't actually show the correct height. It comes up to the 3rd story, and that's where the rooftop mechanicals show. What you're going to have is a building that will come right against that wall, and it'll go up an additional 2 stories, creating a wall effect along my client's side yard. So recognizing that my client does have an existing building with an existing 0-meter setback, it's an existing condition. It's how it was purchased. If it was to be developed today, you would not do that. You would not have that relationship.
I understand, sir. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I appreciate the dynamics between the 2 buildings. What I'm interested in, is it shadowing? Is there anything on top of that roof that would be negatively impacted by some shadow? I'm just trying to get at what the actual impact of this would be on your client's property.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, one of the issues is shadowing. There's a concern as it relates to an existing skylight that runs the full length of the peaked roof on my client's building. So that exists today. And this 5-story proposal right adjacent to the property line will obviously impact that component. The second is, should my client ever wish to redevelop, the expectation is either if they were developing an existing building, whatever they did, if they decided to add additional stories, they would need to step back. This is creating a very dense and hard situation along my client's side lot line. Particularly, it's their rear yard where they're supposed to have a certain level setback. We're okay as it relates to a reduced setback. We're not arguing for 7.5 meters. We just think 0.3 is
So
unreasonable.
I understand that, sir. The other thing I was just out of curiosity, your client's structure building appears to be pretty close to the lot line as well. Was that as of right, or did they need a variance to get to that close to the property line when that was constructed, or is that just a historical anomaly?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I don't have the history on that original approval. I would have to assume that they would have needed some sort of approval for a 0 meter.
Right, I thought the same thing,
Yes.
yes, thank you. All right, panel, any questions? Bill?
So what's the zoning of your client's property?
It's a similar zoning as the applicant's property.
Like a CR?
Yes.
Yeah, I just asked because you were talking about transition in sort of a different context to a residential zone. The portion of the building that's adjacent to this property, so you said it's a mixed use. What are the mixes of uses, and then like what's the use in that area?
So, and my client will correct me if I'm wrong on this, the front portion of the building provides for residential, and the rear portion provides for office component?
No.
Okay,
So,
he's going to correct me on that.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, the building.
Is your mic on, sir?
Oh,
There you go, thank you.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, thank you. The building is primarily a commercial building, so it's medical offices, and the Heritage House does have a residential component to it.
Okay. And the skylight, what does it light? Does it light actual office space? Is there an atrium under it? Is it over a hallway? What's it over?
It lights office space.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, anything else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have another speaker, so 36A Prince Arthur Avenue. The speaker for that, please come up.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. I didn't know I was going to speak, but
Name and address, please, ma'am,
36A Prince Arthur Avenue.
and your name.
Floriana McNeely.
Okay, you have 5 minutes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm the owner of 36A Prince Arthur, and I don't know about the variance and stuff like that. All I know is what negative impact it would have on my business right now. I'm a little nervous.
No worries, just relax.
So, I have a patio in the back, and that generates quite a bit of my income during the year. So, once that building on the side goes in, it's going to interfere with my business. There's no privacy, and there's a terrace overlooking my patio. The construction is gonna impact my business. I mean, I'm in a terrible situation. So I don't know what my rights are here. So I'm objecting to the plans.
All right, ma'am, thanks. That was just perfect, thank you.
Oh, okay.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
And you can refer to my letter from my lawyer, and he can explain the variances better than I can. So besides that.
Is your lawyer here or speaking today?
No, he wasn't
Okay.
able to make, but he did send a letter.
Yes, we've read it, yep.
Okay. All right, and that's it.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks, ma'am. Panel, any questions?
Yeah, maybe just describe how your business uses the patio. It's a restaurant, and
It's a restaurant, and I do have two patios. So they're both going to be impacted, and I don't know what what the solution could be. But I know I'm not happy with it, and I know I'm going to be losing a lot of money. So
there are areas that are used for exterior seating in the summer. That's the
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
into December, actually, because they're heated. They're
Okay.
they're doing.
Thank you.
And have you or your representation had any discussions with the folks
Yes.
that are being proposed? And
They have.
Were they unsuccessful or
No,
productive or
I think
unproductive?
They were just concerned with the variance, the variances of the property next door.
Okay.
So that's in the letter
Yeah.
from Osler. So I'm just objecting because of my situation,
Of course.
okay?
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else speaking on this item?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I see none, so we can call back David.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It is a wonderful restaurant, Trattoria Fieramoska. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I'm just making sure there's a plug. Everyone should go to that fabulous restaurant. And we did meet, and we appreciated the opportunity to have the meeting. I wasn't there, but the architects and the clients were. I understand the concern. I would just note for the committee, as part of the redesign, because planning staff initially flagged a concern back in the fall, and I actually had the conversations with planning staff at a high level, both about height and setbacks and stepbacks. What actually ended up happening is there's a flip or redesign in the overall terracing of the building, and if staff, I'm not actually sure it's in the presentation, so I apologize to staff. I may have to ask you to bring up the plans. Yeah, if you don't mind bringing up the plans, there's a third floor plan, fourth floor plan, fifth floor plan, and you can see it on the colored site plans too. The only reason I was going to the floor plans is you can actually see the dimensions on them. That northwest portion originally didn't have that tiering. That tiering was originally on the northeast portion next to the Heritage apartment building. And there was a reason for that at the time. It was the thought that those terraces, as they face east over that green space, would be absolutely gorgeous. Planning staff wanted this switch. So having more tiering on the northwest, actually adjacent to the restaurant and the patio. So as the building goes up in that rear location where there's the rear patio, it actually steps back from the property line at each of those levels. It does result in a little terrace on the third and fourth floor for the commercial, and it also results in a little terrace for the fifth floor residential space as well. If staff, those are the elevations in the plans. If you go back up in the package set, just so that I can show you. There, that's a great one. Any of those ones will work. You can just see there, it's at the bottom of the screen. That's the northwest portion of the property. So that tiering was originally at the top or the northeast. So there was a more substantial cutout next to the RA zone to the east. It was reversed here with planning staff, and this got planning staff support, and I actually do think it's an improvement, and it does pull the massing back away from where that patio at the rear might be located. So this was before meeting with the owner, but it was a change that planning staff asked for to try and ensure that that wall in that area was stepped back in that location. In terms of the rear setback, I would again just note for the committee, to the north, it's designated mixed-use areas. That's a designation for growth. It's not neighborhoods. We're not talking about transition to neighborhoods. It's a CR zone, 2 times permitted coverage. So it's the same zoning as my client's property. I don't know the history for how that building got approved with a blank wall on that property line. It is an older approval. It may have had a variance at the time, but I do know this: it doesn't meet the zoning bylaw today. I'm not saying it's illegal. I'm not saying it's non-conforming. I'm just saying if you tried to build that today, you would need zoning relief for a blank wall on the property line, even though it's a side property line. But that's also the existing condition. And I think that's what we have to be talking about in terms of compatibility and transition. Transitions to existing context in the official plan. Transition is to planned context in the official plan. So let's quickly talk about both. Existing context, if I can ask staff quickly go to the presentation package. And page 2 shows the colored site plan. And right at the top, you're going to see there, that's perfect. You're going to see the existing building with the hatching to the north on the property line. That's the blank wall. That's where there are commercial and office uses behind that blank wall. That's the existing condition. Similarly, if I can ask staff to go through to its page 6, it will show the west elevation. Thank you. There you can see that's the existing building at 21 to 23 Bedford on the left. You can see the existing mechanical. You can see the one additional story that comes over top of that blank wall. The skylights are actually in the middle of the roof of that building if you look at it on an aerial. So to suggest there's a shadow impact from that one story, I don't think is credible. Certainly not for the afternoon. But I don't even think for the morning, given where the skylights are located on that roof, and they're to a commercial space. So then just quickly transition in terms of planned context, mixed-use areas. So this is some hypothetical redevelopment that may or may not occur on this site, which we don't have in front of you. The applicant didn't indicate that they've got any plans, but let's just take them at face value that in the future they may want to redevelop. It's mixed-use areas. It's a CR zone with 2 times coverage. Maybe they want to do something exactly like this with another blank wall and come along with more commercial uses. That would be a great thing for the city. So I don't think there are any impacts today. I don't think there's an issue of transition from our client's property. And if you set it back at 7.5 meters, all you're going to create is a space at the rear next to that blank wall that is frankly quite harsh and barren. I actually think this is a better use to have commercial uses than enforce that setback. And in terms of maintenance, they have an issue today with maintenance. They can't maintain that south property line without trespassing. And one option, frankly, which happens all across the city is you could actually close up that space with flashing and not have anybody accessing in between. Construction can occur at that. And if there's maintenance required, both clients will have to deal with it in the future. But I don't think it's relevant overall to whether this is the right type of use for this property. Blank wall to blank wall happens all the time in the city. And here, it doesn't matter that it's side wall, side yard to rear yard. It's commercial to commercial, existing condition to and it'll be another commercial building. And I really do think this is what we need to have in the city, especially in these economic times. So I think transition is achieved, and I think this is compatible, and I don't think there are any impacts.
Okay, thank you. Panel, any questions? I have a couple.
Yeah.
I'm just going back to the Heritage Report, and notwithstanding your disposition on that, I just need to understand what they're doing. Is the gist of that the addition is supposed to be subordinate to the heritage structure?
I think subordinate's a good word for it, in that so heritage staff quoted from general language at the start of the plan that said the roof of the addition has to be lower than the ridge or eaves. I'd have to pull out the report, but let's say ridge of the roof. I acknowledge it says that. That's more typical for, I'm going to say, an addition to a residential building where, a family's living it, you're adding onto the back, and we're not going to start having this staggering up. I then took you to the language about Prince Arthur, which is different land use designation, different zoning, different character, and they do have existing commercial uses in the rear. And there's language there about not overwhelming the existing building. Subordinate's another good word, and there's a couple of ways of doing that. It doesn't just have to be in height. It can be in materiality. And frankly, from the July 24th meeting, one of the instructions from staff at that meeting was try and find something like this, lighter, permeable, so that the heritage building is prominent on Prince Arthur, and the addition, although taller in the back and quite far back from Prince Arthur, doesn't read strong or as the dominant form. And we see this a lot in the city. It is an architectural technique where the use of materiality does help achieve that subordinate nature of the addition. And I would suggest with the renderings we've shown you, that's been achieved. It's not overwhelming that heritage building. It's going to remain prominent, even dominant on Prince Arthur for a pedestrian walking on the street.
Yeah, again, colloquially, you think of many of the redevelopments that are associated with heritage buildings. I mean, there's many additions that are larger than what the original heritage is, and it's done thoughtfully and tastefully.
Yeah.
It does sort of bleed into my question about cladding, because again, that was a fairly obvious point in the heritage, indicating that the cladding should be complementary, I guess, to the existing heritage structure. So your proposal is glass, it looks like, or some sort of transparent material. Any views? I mean, you've articulated that that helps minimize the massing a little bit, but is there anything else with respect to the cladding you wanted to speak to?
And before you speak to that, because I've got my own theory, and maybe you can kind of confirm it, it might have to do with the age of the HCD, because I think the thoughts on this sort of cladding issue has changed a lot since the 90s.
I think that's fair. I don't want to pile on this HCD plan, but it is a 1994 plan. I thank the Annex Residents Association. They have it easily accessible on their website. It's actually really hard to get on the City of Toronto website, which is a bit ironic. But the Annex Residents Association has it with a bunch of links because they scanned it in. So it's like an old scanned document, and that's what I have as the printout. I think times have changed a little bit. I would just say this, though. The HIA, and I won't go into a lot of detail, has a lot of pages about this. They've got pictures of all the buildings on Prince Arthur. They pulled out the materiality. They pulled out the different brick. And ERA has made the recommendations through that HIA with this, and they're trying to respond to what's on the street and that direction from July 24th. That being said, if at the end of the day there is a desire to look at something different in terms of cladding, we're not opposed to that. Like, we'll have that conversation. But we actually think this does implement the plan well. But if that's a conversation in terms of what they said in that report that we have as part of the permit process, we're committed to having that conversation with them. I mean, ERA, as you well know, does this all the time, and they'll talk to staff and figure out what the right approach is if a different materiality works for both staff and ERA.
Okay. Last, just want to address the issue of height. You know, you're about 50% beyond what the bylaw requires. It sounds like this bylaw, or the 12-meter restriction, isn't uniformly applied in this neighborhood. There are a number of taller structures.
There are some taller structures. The numbers that we often present to the committee are a little bit different here. I mean, we often have those maps where we've done 25, 50 variance requests with thanks from staff to get the research and plot a map with you with numbers and show you and that's very much a 4.1.5 neighborhoods policy test where we're trying to show you what's prevailing. I can tell you, and this is in the package at page 7, we do have C of A approvals for height on Prince Arthur at 15, 17, 29, and 55, 14.7, and I will pause with 55 and tell you that has a height permission of 34 meters. So it's a slightly greater, obviously, height permission for 55. But 15, 17, and 29 all have a required height of 12. They did 14.7, 15.2, 17.13. 55 has a height permission of 34. It did 38.8. So there are variances even for height on Prince Arthur.
Okay. One last question, if I can. It's the terracing over is over top of the adjacent restaurant.
Yes.
What's the treatment there?
The treatment. There are some there are some glass railings there, if you see on the elevations. If there was a desire to have something there that was less permeable, we would definitely accept that as a condition. It would be a little different because I don't think we can go up to the full height of a person for those, because then they're just enclosed spaces.
Right.
But if where there are railings there, I always have to pause and think of the word, not opaque, not transparent, translucent?
Yeah,
Is that the right word? If there was something there that
Yeah.
allowed light but stopped views, we would be fine with that as a condition, and that would get finalized as part of the permit process too.
Great, thank you. Any further, Phil?
Yeah, so just a couple questions about potential conditions.
Yes.
Recognizing that you need a heritage permit anyway, is there a condition about getting heritage approval that
That would be
you
fine.
see anything problematic with that?
No, that would be fine. If there was a condition that required that the variances essentially could not be operative pending an approval under the Ontario Heritage Act, we would be totally fine with that.
Okay, and then the second potential condition might be a little more problematic, but there are a number of aspects of this that you've mentioned that I think the design is pretty contextual, especially if we talk about the terraces and also, where the massing is placed and all of that. Would you be agreeable to having it substantially tied to elevations and plans?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think I have to say yes, because it goes back to what I said to you at the start. This is sort of about the zoning envelope, and I think and then some of the heritage matters will get addressed during the permit process. To have certainty on that zoning envelope is good for my client, but I also think it's good for other people, and including the restaurant owner to the west. The variances themselves would not pick up that terracing. As an example, because they're obviously measured from the closest part of the structure to the property line. So the fact that terracing was switched through the process with planning staff, we would be totally fine with that. And I don't think that would prejudice the heritage permitting process.
That was my only concern.
No, I think I would be fine with that.
Okay.
Thank you. And there is, and I think there is an urban forestry condition too, which we're fine with.
Yes, there is, forestry too. Anything further, guys? I think that's it. Thank you very much. We'll go into committee. Phil, I'm going to look to you to take a crack at this one.
So I think it's a very good plan, design, contextual. It's a very interesting street. I know it quite well. I lived in the annex for a while. The pub that was at one time in this building is actually where I had my first date with my wife, so I know it quite well.
Did you declare a conflict on this one?
Well, I don't think that makes it a conflict. But, the building to the east is a Vilho Ravel building. It's gorgeous. But anyway, it's a really great neighborhood. I think in terms of what's minor, what's not minor, we come back to is the impact minor. We're looking at the variances themselves. There are a number of variances, but I do think it fairly obviously is a minor impact with respect to the neighbor to the north that's expressed a concern. I am a little more sympathetic to Trattoria Fieramoska. I think there will, be an impact of the building being closer, but I think the real impacts are going to be construction impacts, which isn't what we're here really to deal with. So hopefully they have a good construction plan and work that through with them. I think the way that these things are terraced in its completed form, it could be actually quite nice up against the patio. So if I look at the impacts of the variances, I think they're minor. I also would say, in terms of the heritage elements, the idea of having, the reason why I thought the HCD being old was an issue is because there used to be sort of a view of keeping design elements in additions added to heritage, and this is the prevailing view these days, is to actually change the materiality to make it very obvious that you're not trying to mimic heritage, and I actually think with someone looking at this sort of through a modern lens, the idea of using brick in that addition actually is sort of what would today be considered the wrong approach. ERA are very good experts. I read the report. I think the report is right that the idea of the Heritage Conservation District here is to have if there are additions in the rear, not have them overwhelm from the street, the heritage, and I think the renderings show that. So the one other issue to maybe address is this idea of privacy screening on the terrace that looks over the green space to the east. I mean, it is just open green space, and I don't actually see much of a privacy impact on green space that is probably just being used by owners as the way it's fenced in. I would think maybe a bit of an off-leash dog area or a park.
Or the terrace on the northwest side, right?
It was the east side that had asked for the privacy screen, I thought.
I thought it was more to deal with potential overlook to the restaurant.
Oh, that's where you were concerned.
Yeah, that's what
Okay.
I was. I don't care.
Okay, there was a letter
Care about the
from
park, but,
a letter from the apartment saying, and
Yeah.
also that they were worried it would prejudice.
I would agree with you on that side.
Okay.
I thought maybe, I think the agent
Yeah, to make it
offered,
trans-
I mean, I don't know if we have to have the 1.5 meter. I think that was
Yeah.
his point. But if there is existing glass railing, maybe it be
Yeah,
translucent.
to make the balcony screen translucent or opaque. Yeah, okay, I'm fine with that. Okay, so those are my comments, and I'd be willing to make a motion, but I'll wait to hear if others want to speak first.
Ryan, you okay?
I actually, when I look at the overall picture of this development, I personally find it to be overdevelopment. I'm more sympathetic to the people who have spoken in opposition to this development. I don't think it fits in with the environment in the neighborhood. I think it's entirely reasonable that Heritage has asked for deferment, and for those reasons and others, and I don't find this application supportable.
Okay.
Okay,
I'll just,
yeah,
if you wouldn't mind. I want to just go on the record here and indicate that when we get a report from Heritage Planning, we take it very, very seriously. It's an important component to the vitality and viability and historical preservation in the city. And the Heritage report was quite clear about the elements of this application that it felt were potentially inappropriate. Having said that, I thought the agent did a pretty good job of articulating a response to that. And mostly the response was that these are the kinds of issues that will be the subject of further consultation and further discussions with the appropriate authorities. And that if at the end of the day, committee or council decides that this proposal is in fact inappropriate relative to the heritage designation on the property, then that will be the ultimate decision. I'm not uncomfortable with proceeding with this application with the caveats that those approvals need to be secured going forward. And I'm comforted a little bit by the fact that there is a process that will evolve and address any outstanding concerns that Heritage has or will have or may have in the future. So I don't take lightly this committee, not disregarding, but having a different view than Heritage staff. And this is a rare occurrence where I think the process has guardrails in it and sufficiently appropriate going forward that those concerns will be addressed, and anything that needs to be protected will in fact be protected. So I'm kind of with Phil. I think that this application is appropriate. It's a very eclectic street. It's a very cool street. I love this street. But I don't think that introducing particularly office use into this, which is going to generate more, frankly, clients for the establishments that are in and around that area, is actually a fairly good thing and helps animate the site and the street a little bit more. So I can support your application. If Phil, take it Ryan is opposed, so Phil, did you make a motion?
No, I was going to.
wanna go
and
ahead?
then yeah, I will.
Okay.
I think those comments are very well taken. You know, I appreciate your eloquence on those issues as always. It is an incredibly eclectic street, and I think that's sort of why my view differs from our colleague, Mr. Bissonnette there. But I'll make the motion to approve it for the reasons that I gave in committee previously, that I believe the variances taken as a whole will have a minor impact, and I do think that the development is appropriate and desirable. I would make it subject to the applicant obtaining the required approval under the Ontario Heritage Act. I would make it subject to the approvals being tied to both the site plan and the elevations, and subject to the balcony guardrails on the northwest terraces being constructed either translucent or opaque.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Ghosh to that effect with those conditions. Do I have a seconder? I will second that motion. All in favor? Opposed? This.
Oh, and subject to the forestry condition.
Oh, we forgot forestry. Yes, thanks.
Forestry condition 2.
It's not too late. Okay. All right. That motion is approved. Thank you all. It's a long discussion, guys. Anyone, you want to keep going, or?
I'll take a break.
You want to take a break? Okay. Can we just have a very short break? Yeah.
Yeah, but I'll get it for myself. Good to stretch the legs. Or, no. I don't have a glass, though.
There you go.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
I think that's officially in the job description for the chair. Just make sure everyone's got water. Serena, you okay?
why these rooms are getting redone. Are you going to apply to be the secretary treasurer now that it's its own role? You should, don't laugh. But you're the boss, you can sit in every once in a while. But I do appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna, like, it's a brand new role to have it as its own thing. Yeah. Well, because you're really good in the hearings, but I feel like that's the thing. If it's a new role, you could define it, and you could maybe do some spot hearings for each of the zones to make sure that they're consistent. You know? Anyway, I'm just yeah. No, that's true. That's true. There've been a couple. Oh yeah. Huh. It's always tough when you get promoted over your colleagues. It's happened to me. Yeah. 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 Oh well. It'll be interesting either way. I think it is neat to have it as its own role. Like it, yeah. Whoever gets it. Only thing that doesn't change is change, right? Yeah, start on exactly. It looked like it was going to be a quick agenda, but this is how it is. Yeah, it's very interesting.
All right, we're going to proceed, and we are on item number 2, 50 Crescent Road. This is an application to alter the 3-story detached dwelling currently under construction by shifting the basement car lift and ground floor opening closer to the front lot line, resulting in an increase to the previously approved building length as approved under minor variance A 1247/21 TEY. The committee has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 2 previous decision numbers affecting the subject property, copy of email correspondence from the agent, an arborist report. We have a permit to injure or destroy trees. We have staff reports from community planning and from urban forestry. There's correspondence and support from Nicholas Thadini, no address provided.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent here in person, no registered speakers for this item.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Sean McGaffey, WND Associates, 47 Roselawn Avenue, Toronto, Ontario.
Great, Mr. McGaffey, thanks for coming down.
So
Hang on a second. You've only got one very minor variance, but it exceeds your previous variance, right? So maybe just a very quick explanation.
yeah, that's fair, Mr. Chair. So like you mentioned, it is one variance to extend the below grade building length by 0.92 meters. What has occurred is during construction, they required an additional 0.92 meters for the car elevator, the length of it. The below-grade length will apply only to the car elevator portion. It's just extending further into the driveway. There's no change to any of the tree preservation efforts on site, no change to landscaping. We've consulted with heritage staff, consulted with neighbors, consulted with planning. Happy to agree to both conditions recommended from forestry and planning, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, it's fairly straightforward. Anyone have any questions, Phil?
Yeah, it's rare for me to look at plans and try to see what's different and have a really hard time seeing it. So the car elevator was already there. It just, like in the previous approval, it just needed to be increased for constructibility.
That's correct. I believe what has happened was they had assumed a certain length for the car elevator on the previous, as part of the design. When they went to go to construct it, it needed some additional area, and that has caused the effect of increasing the overall building length below grade.
And the car elevator goes to external in the property?
That's correct. So it is an A-rated heritage house in South Rosedale. There was an addition approved to the side of it that's under construction to try and maintain the appearance of, no garage, no below-grade ramp as part of the property. You would enter into the driveway, park, and the driveway actually goes down underground and into the basement for parking.
So it visually just looks like the driveway, and
That's
how it was, that's how it is.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Great. All right, there's no one speaking on this item, so thank you very much, sir. Let's take it in a committee. Seems like a fairly straightforward, relatively innocuous proposal. Bill or Ryan?
Yeah, put forward a motion to approve the requested variance.
There is planning and forestry conditions on this one.
Oh, thank you, including the planning and forestry conditions.
Okay, motion by Mr. Bissonnette, seconded by Mr. Ghosh. All in favor? Thank you for coming down. You have your approval. Item number 3, 32 White Pine Avenue. This is an application to alter the existing one-story detached dwelling by constructing a rear and side two-story addition, a complete second-story addition, a third-story dormer, and a front covered porch with stairs and a rear ground floor deck. Committee has before it a copy plan, a survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 5 photographs of trees on the subject property, covering letter from the agent, and a tree protection plan. We have staff report from Urban Forestry and 6 form letters in support from owners occupants of White Pine Avenue.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent online, no registered speakers for this item.
Morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Mr. Smith.
Perfect. Yes, so my name is David Smith, address 401 Craven Road here in Toronto, representing the homeowners at 32 White Pine Avenue.
Okay, sir, you've got a number of variants. Maybe just a very quick overview, just to kind of give a synopsis of this.
Absolutely. So, I mean, it's a standard build for this type of neighborhood. I covered most of the logistics in the cover letter that I submitted, very consistent with what people are doing in and around the area. We're seeking 6 variances, several of which tie to just the existing condition of the building and its proximity to the side yard setback. We're looking to add additions to the rear and to the side of the ground floor, and then a full second floor, just to raise the square footage and bring this more in keeping with the size of home that is in the neighborhood. Beyond that, I mean, there's no opposition. There was no feedback from city planning. We are obviously comfortable with the condition from forestry, and I'd be happy to answer any specific questions.
Great. Panel, any questions on this one? Okay, we have no questions. Thank you very much, sir. Let's go into committee. Who wants to take this one, Phil?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'm happy to take this one. It's an application that doesn't have opposition. It's the sort of addition that we see in an area like this. It's in keeping with what we see on the street. So although there's a number of variances, and it is making a significantly larger home out of the bungalow, I think the impacts are minor. I would move to approve it, subject to forestry conditions 1 and 2.
Okay, motion by Mr. Ghosh to approve with those conditions, seconded by Mr. Bissonnette. All in favor? Thank you very much. You have your approval. Item number 4 is 684 Manning Avenue. This is an application to construct a new 3-story detached fourplex with front and rear stairs, front and rear second and third story balconies, a rear waste bin enclosure, and 2 bicycle parking spaces. The existing rear 1-story detached garage will be maintained and unaltered. There'll be a total of 4 residential dwelling units on this lot. Committee has before a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevation. Revised site plan, floor plans and elevations received July 15th. Revised zoning notice received July 15th. 2 photographs of the subject property. Covering letter from the agent. Presentation materials from the agent. We have email correspondence from Transportation Services and staff report from Urban Forestry and Property Planning and, TTC, pardon me. We have correspondence and support from 678 Manning, and we have correspondence and concern interest from 692, 680, 682, 691, and 686 Manning Avenue.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent online as well as 1 registered speaker in opposition.
Okay. Mr. Race.
Good morning, Mr. Chair.
Name and address for the record, please, sir.
Craig Race, 100 Lombard Street.
Great. We have someone who wants to speak to this item, so we'll need a presentation, please.
Certainly, if staff could please pull up our presentation material. The application before you is for a new construction fourplex with variance requested to align it with the neighboring home to the south and to align with an existing side yard setback. Next page, please. Site is located half a block north of Bloor Street near Christie Pitts in the West End. Next page, please. So you can see by our site plan, the positioning of the home really triggers 2 key variances that bring us here today. One is to maintain the north side yard setback, which is an existing condition for the home on the lot presently. We are looking to maintain that in its current state. And the second is for a front yard setback, which we are seeking to align the home with the neighbor to the south, which is slightly closer to the street than the as-of-right condition would permit. Next page, please. In looking at the front yard setback, we are requesting, we did a small study of the block, both sides of the street, adjacent to the subject property, and found that almost every home on the street has a smaller front yard setback than we are proposing. This did also indicate that the prevailing front yard setback is very similar to what we are requesting. Next page, please. It's also worth noting that an as-of-right fourplex is permitted on this site with an actually larger footprint than we are proposing. It would be possible through a renovation application to maintain the side yard setback we're requesting, keep the home where it presently is, and extend the house quite a bit deeper into the site, as well as make it wider than we are proposing. So in the net, this is a smaller fourplex than an as-of-right condition would permit here. Next page, please. In studying the side yard setback, we looked at the prevailing setbacks. There are quite a number of attached homes immediately nearby, as well as much smaller side yard setbacks than we are requesting. It's also worth noting the separation between homes is quite varied, and even where we're requesting the side yard setback, our separation to that neighbor is 0.82 meters, which is quite a large separation for the street. Next page, please. We're also seeking a main wall height variance. This is in order to create a proper size bedroom on the 3rd floor. And in order to still respect the intention of the main wall height provisions, which do allow for dormers, we did carve away the top corner of the facade adjacent to the smaller neighbor that is set back from the street. This not only aligns us with the intention of the bylaws, but we also attempted to expose the neighbor's front yard to as much sky and sun as possible, even though we are staying within permitted heights. Next page, please. There are a handful of platform variances related to the front stairs. I'm happy to answer questions on those, but suffice it to say they're matching the character of the street where front porches are prevalent. We tried to maximize soft landscaping, which also is in keeping with the prevalent character of the neighborhood. Next page, please. Finally, the clients did some neighborhood outreach. The sample area, there was a letter drop to all of the neighbors who were highlighted. We contacted the local councillor, reviewed this with community planning, transportation. We're aware of the conditions from forestry and Metrolinx, or TTC, forgive me, and are accepting of all of them. And you will see there's no opposition from any of these commenting partners. Next page, please. To conclude, we are huge proponents of the missing middle initiatives that Toronto is pursuing, and the council is really expanding into a far more liberal policy. This street will soon become eligible for as-of-right sixplexes, hopefully all development charge-free, and all these policies are being enthusiastically supported by community planning and city council. We think this application is relatively reasonable, if not borderline modest, compared to the bylaws that are forthcoming. And we believe it is in keeping with the official plan and the intention of the bylaw. And this is going to create 4 excellent 2-bedroom units for renters and families in a very dense neighborhood that's well served by transit and bike lanes. Thank you, committee members. Pleased to answer any questions.
Thank you. You submitted I should have mentioned this at the beginning, you submitted a revised zoning notice. Are there any changes to the public notice?
No, sir, the public notice is correct.
Okay, great. Thank you. Panel, maybe we can want to hold questions until we hear from our speaker?
3, Mr. Chair, we'll hear from the owner at 692 Manning Avenue.
Good morning.
Good morning. I am Suzanne Bayless, owner at 692 Manning Avenue, just to the north, a couple of buildings.
Okay, maybe you have 5 minutes.
Yes. My concern, along with some of the other neighbors, is that the streetscape on Manning Avenue will be changed considerably by the proposed dwelling. There's also a concern as a result about a potential decrease in neighboring property values. According to the preliminary drawing, which you saw, and I was sent by the architect, the new design will be ultra-modern, black and white structure, and the surrounding houses to the north and south and across the road are approximately 115 years old. They are traditional red brick with some window, roof, and dormer designs typical of the time they were built. And you will see the image that I submitted, the contrast between what's there and what is proposed. So even though the existing buildings on the street are not designated heritage, in our opinion, they are relatively attractive examples of the designs prevalent throughout the city at that time. Our hope is that the owner and architect will make a good attempt to have the front facade blend as much as possible so there is not such a contrast to the rest of the street. Hopefully with a similar red brick, if possible, and some similar design elements to the ones that are there. This type of blending has been accomplished in the city before, successfully. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions? So your concern is more aesthetic?
Absolutely, yes. Okay. And as a result, some property value changes potentially.
Okay, great. Thanks very much, ma'am. All right, we'll have the agent back. Mr. Race? Is he there? Mr. Race?
Apologies, Mr. Chair, I needed staff to unmute me. Thank you.
I wonder if you could take a couple minutes to respond, please, sir.
Certainly, and thanks to Ms. Bayless for her comments. Well, of course, we appreciate the heritage of our neighborhoods in Toronto. It is worth noting that the existing home here is very much out of character for the street. So this is not a situation where preservation would be advisable because the house is substantially smaller and does not meet the prevalent character of the neighboring homes. So in order to recreate the heritage character, and sorry, this is not a heritage area, in order to recreate the existing style of some of the homes, that would be to build a totally new house to match it, which is a possibility. But I don't agree that this neighborhood is exactly a cohesive streetscape. There is a large amount of infill buildings on this street and others nearby. And being half a block from Bloor, there are even different typologies in the immediate vicinity. So this is very mixed, both in terms of style and size of buildings. And we embrace modern architecture in this case because it provides improved spaces for bedrooms rather than having sloped facades and roofs that would impinge on the units we're trying to create. And also the form of the home is something that allows us to have more appropriate building envelopes that are more sustainable and more well-equipped to manage water and other natural elements. The effort we made to blend into the context, nonetheless, was to carve away a portion of the third floor, as I mentioned, because we do believe that responding to context is still necessary, especially because the neighbor to the north is set back quite a ways. We attempted to have our form respond to that and expose the neighbor to the north to more sunlight through the volume we created. And with respect to property values, there is no evidence that multiplexes decrease property values, and I would argue it will increase everyone's property values because this will be a demonstration of the infill housing that's possible on the street. Happy to respond to any other questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Panel, any questions? Nope. All right. Well, thank you very much, ma'am. We'll take this into committee. Who wants this one? Ryan?
Sure. I think there are, I'll make a motion to approve the variances. There is a TTC condition and forestry. Yeah, so including the TTC and forestry conditions.
I'll just make a comment for, I will second that motion. I think this is approvable in the circumstances when we look at all of the variances and the impact and moving it forward to, which is one of the main aspects. It's just drawing in line with the building to the south. But the comment I wanted to make is for the member of the public who showed up today to express her aesthetic concerns, just to, because it's not apparent to a layperson necessarily, that's just not a consideration for us at the Committee of Adjustment. We're only here to consider the variances themselves and not the aesthetics. And in fact, that has led me to, upon times, approving buildings that are not to my liking. I won't comment on the aesthetics of this one. They are as shown, but it's just not a consideration for us. I just wanted to make that comment.
Okay. Before we vote, I'll just throw in a couple of comments. One, I do think that the applicant was trying to be sensitive to the neighbors by doing the cutouts on the third floor, which I think is commendable. I would also just note that this is a minute walk to Bloor Street and public transit, high order public transit. And frankly, these are the kinds of neighborhoods that we are going to be seeing more density introduced into, and we should be seeing more density introduced into just because of their proximity, not only to transit, but also amenities and commercial space. So I think it's a logical location for this kind of application. So I have a motion from Mr. Bissonnette to approve, subject to, did you make subject to the forestry and
did.
TTC?
Yeah.
Seconded by Mr. Ghosh. All in favor? The application is approved. Thank you. Item number 5 is 204 Windermere Avenue. This is an application to alter the existing two-story detached dwelling by constructing a second-story rooftop deck above the front first-story covered porch, a rear two-story addition with a basement and a rear second-story addition with a rooftop deck above the rear first-story covered porch. The rear detached garage will be maintained and unaltered. Committee has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have 2 photographs of trees on the subject property. We have a correspondence from the agent. We have previous decision numbers affecting properties at Riverside Drive and Windermere Avenue. We have copy of email correspondence with RNFP. List of comparable Committee of Adjustment approvals in the surrounding area. We have TRCA permit letter. There are staff reports from TRCA and RNFP. There is also correspondence and concern from 206 Windermere Avenue and correspondence and opposition from the Swansea Area Ratepayers Association.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent here in person as well as 3 registered speakers.
Okay. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. My name's Audrus Vaidila, and I'm representing Paul and Rebecca Koblenski, who are here today.
Okay.
They are the homeowners and the actual proponents. My address is 53 Austin Avenue. I'm in the area and a lifetime Swansea resident.
Okay, sir, you have 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Now, the Koblenskis have owned and lived in this house for almost 30 years now. And they want nothing more than to enlarge their original family home into a more spacious, comfortable living space that so many other people who buy and or live in these almost century-old homes, they want to convert into a home that has what everyone else wants, such as new expanded floor, kitchen and family room at the rear with large windows overlooking a deck to the backyard. You must have seen 1 or 2 of these come through probably every day. A second floor master suite with ensuite bath and a walk-in closet, rear second story deck. And in addition to these typical requirements that I've seen in the neighborhood and across the city, they're also asking for approval of a second story deck in front for more access to the outdoors in the front. So the variances requested are generally 5 in total: front yard setback for front deck, rear yard setback for deck, rear yard setback for addition, rear second story deck size, and FSI. So our approach in championing this is to provide evidence of other applications that have been approved that include these setbacks, variances. So using the research portal, we did a search using the address as the focal point and using the 500-meter radius option. We found 218 decisions, and of course, you probably saw our explanation of our approach. For using this approach, we found 68 decisions that had 1 or more of these variances included in them. And then we listed generally the committee's sort of approval for these particular comparables, rather than present a whole stack of those decisions, which I have with me here today if we ever need to refer to them. So basically, here's a summary of our results, just to summarize the results again, rather than bring forth 68 comparables. We have found that there are, for FSI of 56 requests for variance, 51 have been approved, 92% overall approval. Front yard setbacks, 91% approval. Rear yard setbacks, 80% have been approved. Deck sizes have been above 4 square meters. There's almost a 90% approval history for those. And then overall positive decisions of these overall grouping of various variances, 91% approval has been provided historically. Like I said, we can get into each one, but I think there's a history and there's an appetite, if that's an appropriate word, for this type of variances. We feel they're minor in nature as they're extending or reducing setbacks by a minor amount. Okay. We spoke with both neighbors. We feel that neighbors to the south and the neighbor to the north are the relevant and mostly affected parties. In terms of more perspective, both of them in the past have extensively renovated their homes. And they did not object. There was one neighbor that wrote a letter of concern, which you probably saw. Regarding that letter of concern, the proponents have written a letter of response, in essence, confirming and committing to address these concerns. And I have a copy of that letter if you haven't seen it, and I can read it here if we have the time for it. There was also, we have correspondence from RNFP, and they state that an application is not required. We also have received a letter from TRCA stating that they have no objections to the application.
Hey, sir, I'm just going to hold you there. Your time is up. We can get back to more when you respond later. Just in terms of lot configuration, just to confirm, there's a steep ravine in behind. There's no one in behind you?
It's a 200-plus foot, I think 209, 218 with a diagonal rear lot line. Average probably 210 or more in terms of length. So the neighbor behind is much lower, and they're, in essence, in a whole different world down there on Worthington Crescent. So it's a ravine that drops quite a bit, and there's no clear line of sight.
Okay, great. Thanks very much. All right, let's go to our first speaker. Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, so there's 3 speakers, so one by one you can come
Oh, they're
up.
here? Okay.
Paul?
Morning.
So I'm sorry, sir. I'm distracted.
Yeah, I saw that.
My computer's not on here. I
Okay.
got to figure it out. Apologize. Name and address, please, sir.
Paul Turkey, TURKKI, 206 Windermere Avenue.
Okay, so you're right next door.
Yes, we're on the north side.
All right, sir, you have 5 minutes.
Well, we submitted a brief blurb saying that we had no objections to the alterations to the house based on what the contractor had told us. We don't understand all the variances and whatnot. Our concern was that this was the start of expanding the house, was the start of restarting the business. They had a basement business, which they ran for a number of years, and it was a major inconvenience to us. We had people parking in our driveway. We had people blocking our driveway, people walking in up the driveway in our backyard, even walking into the house. So our concern was, and we want to seek reassurance from the owners that this is not the start of restarting their business. And that was our concern.
Okay. Well, we'll put that to the agent when he comes back to speak to us.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Our next speaker, who's up?
Mr. Chair, we'll hear from the owners at 35 Worthington Crescent.
Whichever one you like, as long as the red light is on your microphone.
Hi. Good morning. As opposed to the...
Sorry, just for the record, name and
I am
address.
Denny Crescenzi from 37 Worthington.
Okay.
My property is directly behind or underneath.
Right.
As the gentleman said, nowhere near. We're directly underneath. It is a steep ravine hill, and you could see portions of the tops of the homes. That's how steep it is. And I'm speaking for 35 Worthington. They can't make it this morning. I believe also 33 and 29 Worthington, our neighbors. 35 is directly behind on the lot line, and I'm adjacent to 35. I'm number 37. You should familiarize yourself with this property. It is, the gentleman prior to me mentioned that this is just there's 76 similar cases. This is not part of that 76. This is a very unique property or area, this zone. This ravine is a corridor. This entire ravine drops down. All of Windermere sits above and then drops down to the properties below and the land below. It's a major watershed area and wildlife corridor going from Morningside down towards Cohill Pond, towards the Southport, towards the Queensway, and it feeds into Cohill, Grenadier, Humber River, that kind of thing. It's a wild, there's 4 coyotes walking by last night. It's wooded, and it's all sand and silt, the property. And it's important to understand that we get a ton of water. If you look at the gradation on satellite or on your own topography, it just slopes down from Windermere south towards the lake and past Worthington. Most of the homes have had to put in double sump pumps, extra weeping tile. We have marsh. I have bulrushes growing at the base just naturally to absorb water, and it's wet until about middle of July. So that's the property. It's the primary concern is soil erosion and water mitigation. Again, like I said, we're already suffering from it. I have silt buildup every spring. I have to dig up about 2 feet, 10 inches, 6 inches or more, and clean it out off the rear of the retaining wall because it just keeps coming down nonstop. The city seems to not, they contradict themselves where they talk about water mitigation and soil erosion, but these additions on Riverside and in properties like this just seem to contradict it. Most of these homes probably were built grandfathered in before these were issues. The existing property already has a garage of some sort that extends about 5 or 6, 7 meters already past what is, from the drawing they supplied, the approximate location of the stable top of salt, confirmed by TRICA staff last year, February 29. So it's already extending into a sensitive area. It should pass the stable zone. Okay, I talked about the soil erosion, water mitigation, water issues. And then on top of that, the application itself, it's called a minor variance, but the requested changes, particularly, we're more concerned about the rear, obviously. The significant increase in the rear second-story rooftop deck is 72% more than permitted, which is only 4 meters square. They're asking for 14.21 meters square. And the floor space index of the bottom extension is going from 0.35 to 0.55. That is a 72% increase. So these are not does that align with minor variances? It's 70% and 72%. The plan, from what we could tell, does not take into account any hardscaping or landscaping in addition to that. So it's going to continuously be water mitigation issues, absorption issues, and so forth. I don't think you can enforce what they're going to do in the future. So in addition to the rear extension, any kind of hardscaping will affect it even further. And still, they're building onto the crest of this ravine hill. So in summary, we're opposed, or else, actually, I have a couple of questions before that. What are the design plans for any additional landscaping, hardscaping, and so forth? What is the plan for drainage and water management? Is it just eaves troughs funneling water down the hill? Lastly, will there be, and very importantly, any changes at all to the removal of vegetation, significant shrubs or trees? There's also privacy concerns and so forth. We're adamantly, all of us, opposed to any trees or significant vegetation being removed. That's as it's the primary line of defense against soil and water erosion, privacy and noise along the wildlife corridor and to the homes below.
Okay, sir, I'm just gonna, I think we've got the gist of your concerns. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks very much.
Any questions, panel? Nope. All right, we have another
Through you,
speaker.
Mr. Chair, one last speaker, Nicholas.
Mr. Singh.
Good morning, committee. I'm Larry. All right.
For the record, sir,
For the
name and
record.
address.
Yes, Nicholas Singh for the Swansea area ratepayers. Okay. We have no issues with people in Swansea wanting to improve their homes and build something more comfortable, but when it gets beyond the bylaws, then of course the neighbors do have something to say. That's why we have this process. So it's important to listen to the neighbors and their concerns when this is the situation. I'd just like to correct the comment that there were 5 variances. I believe there are 6, and I can enumerate those for you if you so wish. I'm really here today to defend the official plan for the City of Toronto. I'll be looking at the test for maintaining the purpose and intent of the official
All right,
plan.
I'm going to stop the clock here for a second. I'm confused. You said there's 6 variances?
Yes, would you like me to?
On the public notice, I have 4.
Well, let's see.
I just want to be clear that we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah, the public notice actually has under number 3, it has 2 variances, I believe, for front and back, and then also in number 4, it also has more than 1 variance there. So I'll enumerate those for you if you want.
No, I don't want to debate this with you. The number 3 is basically the setback from the 10-meter top bank, right?
There should be 2 there. I don't have the printout in front of me.
Well, let's proceed anyways, but for the record, the committee has 4 variances before it.
Okay.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I can speak to that. So for variance number 3, it lists out the setback of the rear second-story rooftop deck as well as the rear addition. So I believe Mr. Singh is counting that as 2 variances. And then for variance number 4, it also identifies the front second-story rooftop deck and the rear second-story rooftop deck. And perhaps Mr. Singh is referring to that as also 2 variances, but we can proceed.
Okay. All right then.
Yes, correct.
Off you go.
That is how I was looking at it. Okay. So as you know, there are 4 tests, and where an application fails any one of them, it becomes not eligible for approval. Is that me?
Do you want to flip over to the next one, Nick? Maybe that one doesn't. Yeah. Sorry, maybe we could reset the clock for Mr. Singh. All right, sir.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I'm really here to defend the official plan for the City of Toronto. I'll be looking at the tests for maintaining the purpose and intent of the official plan. As you know, there are 4 tests, and where an application fails to meet any one of these tests, it becomes not eligible for approval. And as per Section 45, under which these hearings are being held, even passing the 4 tests doesn't guarantee an approval. I reiterate, I'm only looking at the test for the official plan. As you know, the official plan requires that any application and development in a neighborhood, such as 204 Windermere, must respect and enforce the character of the neighborhood. The official plan lays out the process for evaluating proposals, such as this one, to see if it respects and reinforces the neighborhood. That process involves comparing the existing features in the neighborhood to the proposed features by the application. What is nice about the process is that it is not opinion-based, it's numbers-based, so that one can provide empirical evidence as to whether or not an application passes the test for the official plan. I note that the applicant has not properly examined the neighborhood for the broader and immediate context as required by the official plan. The case presented by the applicant only looks at a select part of the neighborhood as represented by the Committee of Adjustment Approvals. As has been mentioned by the committee members in the past, Committee of Adjustment Approvals are done on an individual basis. So previous approvals or refusals do not in themselves determine the outcome of any one application. Again, it is nice that the official plan lays out clear process and requires a numbers-based look analysis. I point out that it is the applicant who has the onus to demonstrate that the application passes the 4 tests. And in this case, the applicant has not followed the official plan policy 4.1.5 and has taken a bit of a shortcut by only looking at the Committee of Adjustment Approvals. By contrast, I've submitted evidence that looks at the broader and immediate context as required by the official plan. If I could get on screen, please, the 500 radius broader context that we submitted.
Sorry, did you submit something, Nick?
Yes, we did.
When?
Monday, before 12.
Okay.
It's in the supplemental package.
Stop the clock for while we find this, please.
It should be titled 500 meter radius broader context.
It's right after the written portion of the submission.
It's separate from the letter. That's our letter. So there's another submission that came in with that.
It's the next page. Just keep going.
Ah, there we are. Thank you. Okay, so what we're looking at is the 500 meter radius that was researched by the applicant. Now, this represents the broader context as per the official plan, and if you do a count of the buildings, you'll find that there are 867 comparable buildings. So it is within this context that you compare the findings of the applicant, not Committee of Adjustment to Committee of Adjustment numbers. That doesn't suit the requirements of the official plan. And if you count the buildings in the immediate context, which is defined by the plan as the buildings on the block, on the street, and those facing the street. So you'll have 43 comparable buildings. If you go to our letter that we submitted, you had it up a moment ago. On the second page, we have titles Deck Size and FSI. Okay. Here we've done an analysis, and our analysis shows that for deck size in both the broader and immediate contexts, we have 6 matches out of 867 buildings, and in the immediate context, we have 0 out of 43 buildings. So the Committee of Approvals shows a 1% and a 0% match with the neighborhood. As per the official plan, this proposal does not respect and support the neighborhood and does not maintain the purposes and intent of the official plan. As per Section 45, the variance for the deck size does not qualify for approval. Our analysis.
Nick, I'm just going to ask you to wrap up, please. I know we've given you a fair amount of time here.
I think I lost at least over a minute waiting for things to go up on the screen. Okay, so our analysis for FSI shows that the proposal, right, has a 51 out of 876 for broader context and 2 out of 43 for the immediate context. That's a 5% match. These ratings show that the proposal does not maintain the purpose and intent of the official plan, and as per Section 45, under which these proceedings are held, does not qualify for approval. So we recommend that the committee look at the requirements of the official plan carefully and find that it does not pass the test for approval. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? No. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I believe that's all the speakers for today, so we will move back to the agent.
Okay, folks, going to ask you to come up. Welcome back. Yeah, sit in the middle one.
Okay.
Okay, sir, so you've heard some specific questions from your neighbors. The one to the north has asked about, I guess, a home business and the concerns he's raised about that. The folks below have raised a number of concerns with respect to water and vegetation and such. So I wonder if you could take a moment to at least address those and anything else you want to talk about.
Okay, so let's start with the first one, and I'll speak to that, in fact, by reading a letter by the owners to the committee, and this was submitted late, and I apologize for that. But they have addressed this and spoken to it, so let me put on my glasses. I'm going to be quick. To the Committee of Adjustment, July 22nd, 2025. We, the owners of 204 Windermere Avenue, wish to reassure the committee and our neighbors at 206 Windermere Avenue that we have no intent to utilize our home and property for anything other than normal domestic use. We will not receive clients from this location, conduct a home business from this property. We will not convert the property to any type of religious institute or purpose. Nonetheless, this statement does not restrict us from the full enjoyment of our home, including but not limited to inviting family guests in reasonable numbers and conducting our own personal religious practices, provided they do not violate local bylaws. Yours sincerely, the owners of 204 Windermere Avenue.
Okay.
And I can present this, the actual hard copy, if it makes any difference. I must apologize to the neighbors below for not having conferred with you, as we didn't anticipate there being any impact, so that's my short sight. However, I'd like to maybe, had we had the chance of having a discussion, we would have pointed out that what we're doing is, in essence, as far as building structure, squaring off a corner of the house. So we're not really extending back any further. We're challenged by the stable top of bank line, which is diagonal, and at a corner, the corner encroaches by approximately 0.48 meters as a maximum, because the stable top of bank is at a diagonal line. And at its shortest point, the one corner we wish to, that is part of the addition, is actually a side rear addition. We're not extending the whole structure backward anymore. In fact, it is in line with 202 Windermere Avenue as well. So I'm not sure if you can realistically claim that squaring off the end of a house is going to create greater silt and erosion issues almost 10 meters back from the house or this proposed addition. Of course, we do have that letter of non-objection from TRCA, who are charged with preserving that stable top of bank. And I just confirmed with the owners, if there are any conditions we need to implement or remediation type of methods, such as shrubs, some sort of plants or retaining structures to minimize and eliminate any potential erosion, they're prepared to do that. And once again, my apologies for not discussing this with those neighbors and with and for having now to take the time to do so here. In terms of speaking to this objection to the official plan, we feel that we addressed the issues that the zoning review raised, and based on the precedents, which was our approach, we feel that we are appropriate in meeting the official plan and within reason. Does a squaring off the rear of a house actually somehow not comply with the official plan? I'm not sure. In terms of deck size, and the statistical analysis we did was taken out of context by the Ratepayers Association. We just did a statistical analysis of the variances that have been requested over the past 10 years, not including all variances requested over the whole life of the Committee of Adjustment. And I'm not sure how long the committee has been in place, but we just took a 10-year window. And we're just trying to show that there are precedences that have been approved, and that sort of supports our application as being reasonable. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Panel, any questions? Hold, just hang on a sec, sir. Sorry. Any questions of the agent? No. Now you can go, sir. The panel doesn't have any questions. No, sir, your time has expired. I'm sorry. Pardon me? No, I apologize. That was my fault. I was asking my panel colleagues whether they had any questions. No, you're on my line of sight. All right. Okay, let's take this into committee. Anyone have any thoughts on this application?
Sure. I find the application and the variances supportable. I think this is a reasonable proposal for the development or, renovations of a home and to meet the family's needs. I see that the, I've lost my TRCA staff report doesn't have any concerns. I see nothing from planning. I see nothing from heritage or forestry, so those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I would just note for the individual who was below the ravine or raised the ravine concerns that the TRCA are responsible for making sure that there are no issues of that nature in terms of the ravine being stable or water issues. And so that's the report that my colleague referenced, saying they had no concerns. But in addition to that, they still will actually have to apply for a permit from the TRCA because of the ravine. So the ravine issues, to me, look adequately dealt with by the TRCA and shouldn't be of concern.
Yeah, I'll just make an observation. First of all, when you proceed to the building permit stage, a lot of the concerns and issues around drainage and ensuring that water retention is appropriate will be also addressed through that stage. And it's not surprising. I take the agent's point about the deck being mostly just a squaring off of the existing one. And this is, I know this area fairly well. It's, the views, I suspect, from all the homes along that ridge are probably quite spectacular. And I imagine that that's the prevailing condition, that people do, and in fact have patios or decks out there to take advantage of that view. I don't think this is being dramatically different from what I would see as being the prevailing condition.
Yeah, and I would, I'd also comment, I mean, just from, you know, a Google satellite view, you can see that several of the homes nearby do have large roof decks, which I think, you know, rather than looking at what's been approved at the committee, really we need to look at what's existing in the prevailing context. Right. So I see this as minor, and I would move to approve it subject to, do we have a condition on this? No, we do not. Okay, I would move to approve it.
Okay, motion by Mr. Ghosh to approve, seconded by Mr. Bissonnette. All in favor? You have your approval. Thank you all for coming. Okay, just give me half a second. I've been experiencing some computer challenges. I think I've got it set up properly now. All right. Okay. We move on to item number 6, 1 SAWDEN Avenue. This is an application to alter the existing 2-story semi-detached dwelling by constructing a rear second-story addition with a balcony. The committee has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 4 photographs of the subject property, covering letter from the agent, an arborist report, and an order to comply affecting the subject property. We have staff report from Urban Forestry, correspondence and support from 1572 Dundas Street East, and correspondence and concern interest from an R. Delinsky, no address provided.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the owners online, no registered speakers for this item. If there is an order to comply, we may have to amend the purpose to read to legalize and to maintain, but I'd ask the owner to speak to this.
Okay. Good morning.
Morning.
Name and address, please, sir.
Blair Allison, 1 SAWDEN Avenue, homeowner.
You heard the Deputy Secretary Treasurer ask for some clarification with respect to the order to comply?
Yes, so the two prior owners had constructed a canopy without a permit. That canopy has since been permitted in 2019, I believe, and that was prior to 2 owner purchases before us.
So what does that mean?
So the rear second-story addition with a balcony hasn't started construction yet?
No, so right now there is currently a canopy in place. That canopy is actually, which is the notice to comply, is actually going to come down, and we are going to be shrinking it and turning it into a deck, or the space is going to be utilized as a deck. So right now the canopy goes over the staircase and goes right towards where you see that slope on the back where the planters are. That canopy, as I said, 2019 does have a permit on it that, as you can see in the photos right there. But we are going to be taking that canopy down to form the deck as you see in the plans, which was actually a smaller square footage.
So this order is December 2018, right?
Yeah,
so it's quite old.
Yes, we purchased in August 6, 2024 on that respect. I think there's one owner in between that permit or that notice to comply, which was actually permitted, because when I pulled up permits on the house, that one did come up as permitted for the canopy with the plans. And it said there was another owner in between the 2 of us. But that canopy is going to be coming down. Okay.
So I think, Sabrina, we can just proceed. All right. Having said all that, panel, does anyone need a presentation on this one? I don't. Sir, Thanks for that explanation. We don't really need a presentation today. It's a fairly straightforward application. We've read your application. We're familiar with the material. Is there anything you'd like to share with us before we take it into committee for a decision?
No, as I said, right now, all we're looking to do is to square off the back of the house. That's where the 0.43 meters comes into play. So the 2.5 thing is that there's already existing structure on the ground floor, and we just want to make sure the second level, which is the bedroom and bathroom, we just like to align the back of the house so we don't have to create a 17-inch splat roof.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's go into committee. Phil?
I think, I mean, that final explanation from the agent sort of highlights how minor this is. It's a very minor variance to allow a second-story addition over an existing first-story. It makes sense. I would move to approve the variance subject to forestry number 2.
Okay, motion by Mr. Ghosh to approve, seconded by Mr. Bissonnette. All in favor? You have your approval, sir. Thank you very much. Move on to item number 7, 289 to 299 Balliol, I don't know how to pronounce it. Balliol Street. This is an application to alter the development standards for a new 31-story residential building by increasing the building height from 102.9 meters to 104.6 meters. This is currently being reviewed under site plan control. There'll be a total of 273 residential dwelling units. Committee has before it a copy plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 3 photographs of trees on the subject property, covering letter from the agent, an arborist report, presentation materials from the agent, the site-specific zoning bylaw affecting the subject property, and you have a permit to injure and destroy trees affecting the subject property, and we have correspondence in opposition from 265 Balliol.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent here in person, no registered speakers for this item.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chair and panel members. My name is Jennifer Lane, and with me today is my colleague Martha Hadid. We're with Menkes, 4711 Yonge Street, Suite 1400 in Toronto.
Okay, this is a relatively minor request to increase the height, and you're also shifting to purpose-built rental, I see.
We are, yes.
Great. Just a quick overview, what the increase in height's to do with?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you said, it's now going to be a purpose-built rental building. We have secured funding through CMHC with the ACLP program. And as a result of that, we're now going to be implementing a geothermal heating and cooling system as well. Because we can't put the structural components below grade due to the water table, we're now going to be putting them in the second floor, making sure that the ground floor still adequately provides for loading and garbage. So the structure of the second floor is now being increased, and we've tried to minimize that as much as possible, playing around with other floor heights. So the 1.7 meters is just because of that.
So the unit mix and units all the same, and the number of stories all the same. This is just
correct
to allow for some mechanical adjustments.
Exactly.
All right. Panel, any questions? Nope. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's take it into committee. Brian?
Yeah, I'll put forward a motion to approve the requested variance.
Yeah, there's no conditions. Okay, motion by Mr. Bissonnette to approve, seconded by Mr. Ghosh. All in favor? You have your approval. Thank you for coming down.
Thank you.
Congratulations on the transition. All right, item number 8 is 10 Afton Avenue. This is an application to alter the existing 2-story detached dwelling by constructing a rear 2-story addition, a front basement walkout with stairs, a front porch with stairs, a rear ground floor deck, and a 3rd-story rooftop patio above the rear additions. The existing rear 1-story addition will be demolished. Committee has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have an arborist report. There is a staff report from Urban Forestry, correspondence and interest concern from 6 Afton Avenue, and someone who withheld their name and address.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent online as well as one registered speaker in opposition online.
Okay. All right, Mr. Shedden?
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Chair.
Name
My name is Scott Shedden from Scott Home Company, 1200 Spears Road in Oakville.
Okay, sir. We have someone who wishes to speak to this item. Someone need a short presentation, please.
Sure. Yeah, so we are planning to build a new addition, rear addition, as shown on the site plan that's brought up. We're within the allowable footprint. We're adding a new entrance to the front of the house. If we could go to the lower portion of the site plan, please. Yeah, thank you. That'll be the new entrance into a basement apartment. The stair location is very close or similar to the existing stair location, so we would view this very close, again, or similar to the existing condition of stairs. One of the variances is for a front setback, which is also an existing condition. We're just repurposing items that are already completed. And then the other variances are to do with the amount of softscape, which again are existing conditions. No big change there.
Okay. All right. We thank you very much, sir. We have someone online to speak.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, we'll hear from Peter Dorfman.
Good morning, sir.
Hi, I'm cheered by the fact that.
Sir, just for the record, name and address, please, sir.
Oh, sorry. Peter Dorfman, 6 Afton Avenue.
Great, thank you.
So I'm 2 doors down. I cheered by the fact that the contractor or the representative of the owners said that the existing soft landscaping isn't going to change. Because when I looked at the requested variance, it says that what's required by the bylaw is 75%, and in this case, 21% is what's being proposed. So I'm confused by that, and maybe that could be explained to me. We certainly would want to have less soft landscaping than there is now. So that was my issue and the reason why I made a written objection and wanted to appear. My other question is, the sign went up just, I believe it was last week or the end of the week before, and I think people in the neighborhood should get more notice that something like this is happening.
Okay. Anything further, sir?
No.
Okay. Thanks very much.
Through you, Mr. Chair, just for public record, sign posting is due 10 days prior to the hearing.
Okay, then that's fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have the agent back.
Yep, I can speak to both of those. Yeah, as communicated, the requirement is sign is posted 10 days before, which we complied with and submitted to the committee. As far as the softscape, yeah, I did speak to the owners about this. They too, as homeowners, want to ensure that, water flows correctly and that things are good. To confirm, these are existing conditions. There's existing concrete in place on the front, side, and rear. I did speak with the homeowners, and they are open to, reducing some of that to add softscape for, water to run, in a better way, and also just to make it a nicer space. So they are open to that. Again, existing conditions, but they're happy to, to do a modification there to make it better.
Great, Phil.
Yeah, so the soft landscaping, specifically the rear soft landscaping, was a concern for me. Just for the member of the public who was on the phone, I just would clarify for them that the variances come into play as soon as you do an application. So, there might be an existing condition that's worse than the zoning bylaw, and that's what we have here. But for the agent, the question is for the rear so the front landscaping, I can kind of see it's very small. There might not really be that much that can be done, given the the entrance to the basement unit, but maybe you can just confirm that that's the case. But I do think something can be done and improved in the rear. Just because it's concrete now doesn't mean that it needs to stay concrete. And maybe you can speak to what your clients are willing to do there.
Yeah, for sure. So as you mentioned, the front has minimal space. So we're very limited on what we can do there. As far as the rear, it is existing concrete that was there when the owners purchased the house. And just to confirm, I did speak to planning as well, as this was, kind of brought up because we wanted to go through the plan. They didn't have any, anything. They were supportive of the plan, but this, did come up. So and was happy to speak to it should it come up here as it has. So no defined plans, but ultimately the idea would be to increase the softscape on the back, probably near the proposed addition there, closer to the garage. Again, just for aesthetics and also just to help any runoff, et cetera. So no specific plans, but owners are up to it. And happy to, to speak further to that with the city if needed, or
Sure.
we want to make sure to.
Sorry to interject. So if we look at the variance, it says, 50% is what's required. This is variance 4, and in this case 4.5. And I recognize that the garage will actually constrain that. So, 50% is constrained because of the garage. So you need some sort of variance. But 4.5 is obviously too low. Can you give us a number so that we can revise this variance?
Yeah, so again, as you said, we have restriction there. We need a walkway to the back, et cetera. So I'm sure we'd be happy to, to up that percentage to, say double what's there, to say 10% or a little bit more.
And what would be the corresponding meters squared?
I'd have to do it.
Yeah, I just interject a little bit here while you're contemplating that. Looking at the site plan, you mentioned that it's pretty much all concrete. If you're going to be doing renovations in the back, you're going to be doing work. Would you be able to pull that concrete and replace it with soft landscaping?
Yeah, certainly technically it can be done. I'd have to speak to the homeowners to speak to them to that. And saying that, this project is important to them and they'd like to support the committee and the city. So I'm sure that they'd be open to that.
Yeah, well, again, the challenge we have, sir, is that in order to make the amendment to the variance, we need specific numbers. We'll need the actual square meterage of that area and what that percentage would translate to. So do you have that now, or can you do that now, or would you need a couple minutes to do that?
Yeah, just to be clear, you'd require this in order to have a decision today. Is that correct, or could it be provided?
If you want a decision today, I think the panel, you've heard the panel is registering some pretty serious concern about the lack of soft landscaping in your rear yard. So if you wish to have this approved today, I think you'd have to satisfy that concern today. If you need some time, we can stand this item down and come back to you.
Can staff maybe put up SP1? I see actually a pretty helpful
is there a way to do the
diagram. Yeah, it shows the calculation.
That's the site plan?
If you zoom in where it shows exist garage, yeah, the landscape area plan rear yard, just zoom in on that a little more. It shows the 3.3 meters squared.
Oh, and then
1.4 meters squared, and then 30.6. So to be honest, looking at this, even doubling it to 10% to me would be in. Is the 30.6 meters squared the entire area? Maybe you can answer that, sir.
Yeah.
So it's the entire area, including the garage.
I'm just pulling it out. Excuse me one moment.
The little box said hardscape area, so is the 32 meters? Is that-
Yeah, which might include the hardscape sort of behind the garage and to
Yeah.
the side of the garage.
I think it does.
Yeah, so just to confirm that 30.6 meters squared is the entire area. And yeah, just looking at it here, we would be okay or up to removing the concrete between the house and the existing garage.
And do you know what the square meterage of that would be? That's not the 30.6, right?
Correct. That's right. It would be
Through you, Mr. Chair, maybe we set this one aside. The applicant can have a discussion with the homeowners, and then we can come back in a few minutes just to see what they've decided to do.
Yeah, did you hear that, sir? And I think that also give you the opportunity to come back with an accurate figure.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's no problem. I can speak to them right away, and I'll come back with a figure for that area between the house and the existing garage.
Great. And sir, this just to confirm, this is a semi-detached home?
It is, correct.
Okay, we will have to amend the purpose of this one because we currently have you as a detached.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep, it is a semi-detached, yes.
All right. So we will stand this down and we will come back to you in a few moments. How much time do you think you'll need?
Not very long at all. I'd say, 5 to 10 minutes tops.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Let's move on to item number 9. This is 18 FOXBAR Road. This is an application to alter the existing 2.5-story detached dwelling by constructing a partially enclosed front porch with a canopy and stairs and a rear covered deck with stairs, also to reconstruct the rear third-story dormer. Committee has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, a covering letter from the agent, and a tree protection plan. There's correspondence and support from 17, 20, and 25 FOXBAR.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent online, no registered speakers for this item.
Okay. Good afternoon.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, hi there. Committee, my name is Maria Denegri with Denegri Bedside Studio. We're located at 1088 Bathurst Street. I am acting as the agent for the homeowners, Stella and Jason.
Great, thanks very much, ma'am. Hang on a sec. Panel, does anyone need a presentation on this one? Bill, you okay?
Yep, I'm fine.
Okay. Ma'am, it's a fairly straightforward application. We've read your material. We're familiar with it. We don't need a presentation today. Is there anything you'd like to share with the panel before we take it into committee for a decision?
I don't think so, unless they have any questions. I think I articulated pretty clearly in my cover letter that the 3 variances that we're requesting are quite modest, and they are related to existing conditions.
Right.
So I can answer any questions once you go into committee.
Panel, any questions? We don't have any questions, ma'am. Thank you very much. Let's go
Okay.
into committee. Who wants to take this one?
Yeah, I'll put forward a motion to approve the requested variances.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Bissonnette to approve, seconded by Mr. Gauche. All in favor? Thank you very much, ma'am. You have your approval. Let's go to number 10, 69 Kippendavie Avenue. This is an application to construct a new 3-story detached triplex with a front basement walkout, a front porch with stairs, a rear first floor deck with stairs, and a rear second and third floor balcony. There will be 3 residential dwelling units on this lot. Committee has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 12 photographs of the subject property, a copy, a covering letter from the agent, previous decision number affecting another property on Kippendavie. You have presentation materials from the agent, correspondence from the agent. You have staff reports from Urban Forestry and Community Planning. There is 3 letters, form letters in support from 59 and 61 and 30 Kippendavie and 34 Kenilworth. There's correspondence and interest from 75 and 65 Kippendavie. There's correspondence in opposition from 71A, 71, and also another from 71A Kippendavie.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent online, no registered speakers for this item.
Okay, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. This is Othran Stambuk again. I'm located at 15 Moreland Road.
Okay, sir, there's no one here to speak to this item, but you are aware that Forestry and Planning have both written reports recommending refusal of this application. So did you want to speak to this?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give you a brief presentation just covering some of those points since I think they're relevant. Yeah, thank you for your time today. I just want to start by providing some important context, and thank you for pulling up this screenshot. We will need this soon. So this new house is replacing a burnt-down semi-detached that caused the complete removal of both houses, including the foundations. The homeowners are looking to rebuild their forever home for themselves and their 2 young kids. And so for them, that means building some extra space. And that extra space means providing some rental units to support the steep costs that will accrue during the rebuilding of this project, which will definitely exceed insurance costs. The 2 basement units we are proposing, and that is really the whole project revolves around, have been tastefully designed with nice high ceilings, proper large windows. That's why we have the main floor height variance. We wanted to make sure to raise the ceiling in the basement to allow proper windows. And these units in the future, they can also serve to keep the family under one roof, but with separate kitchens, which I believe to be the key lubricant in making any family stay together long-term, separate kitchens, but that's just my opinion. They could have achieved this with the as-of-right envelope, which is illustrated in my comparison presentation materials you have in front of you. These drawings also show my key point here that I want to make. The variances we are seeking have to be seen in comparison with this as-of-right envelope for the height, sidewall height, north side yard setback, and length of the building. So I've looked at all the opposition letters we've received from neighbors, and I would have to say the opposition would likely be more opposed to the as-of-right envelope if they could prevent it or comment on it. But they cannot, since the allowed larger structure does not have to be scrutinized by them or reviewed under the 4 test, which then brings up the question, naturally, why are we even seeking these variances in the first place? And broadly, I will say the design we have in front of you looks better and is less impactful. It is less like a big rectangular box the zoning bylaw is allowing us to build. So, we have a setback, the depth of the rear wall. We haven't extended the second story to the full 19 meters or the third story. But the variances are also responding to the existing site condition and the character of the neighborhood. And I can explain each variance and why they need it at your request, but I will briefly go over some points that cover those opposition and refusal recommendation. And the first one really relates to the wall height, which I have tried to show here on the isometric view. The wall height is being triggered by the width of the front third-story dormer, since it is wider than the permitted amount, which you can see in the as-of-right drawing. That is, if we had that front dormer being less wide, it would allow the front and back wall would comply. The side walls could be a full 11 meters height. Similarly, the overall height of the building is being triggered by a small rectangular roof. The north wall variance is being triggered by the addition of windows, which is common for the area on such narrow lots. And I think, honestly, that north elevation without any windows looks a lot more stern, blank, and impactful than adding a few windows, which I have to say in this case are not creating privacy concerns or issues like that. The last point I want to make is that the front yard landscaping variance is being caused by the front wall being very close to the front lot line, only 5.5 feet, which leaves us very little space to the lot line to designate for landscaping and soft landscaping, especially with the inclusion of the porch and walkout, which is key for one of the basement units. This is similar to many homes on the east side of this stretch of Kippendavie Avenue, and if needed, we can refer to that in my cover letter. But I just want to conclude by saying that planning staff are in opposition to the wall height variance, which I believe this shows is very supportable. But they have not flagged the 0 meter south side yard setback or the soft landscaping variance. And I believe that is because they know this is a common to the character of the neighborhood, where homes are very close together, often attached or touching, however one chooses to define it, and they have very small front yards that are mostly covered by porches. So that's kind of my response to the opposition to the planning report. And then finally, briefly, in response to the urban forestry report recommending refusal, that tree that they're speaking of in the report is already gone. And it was damaged by the fire, and it was removed without a permit by the demolition crew of the neighbor's property. So that tree is not currently existing, and we have a letter from the owner that explains the details of this situation. So I believe their request it's not warranted at the time, but I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Thank you for those explanations. Panel, any questions? No questions. So I'm just looking at the height of the sidewall, and that seems to be what planning is mostly concerned about. And you've got a bit of a hip roof there on the third floor. Is that just an architectural thing, or like what is the height of that peak part of the third story?
So if staff could flip over to my cover letter and turn to the second page of my cover letter, it shows a very clear explanation of what's happening with that peak height. So here you can see in blue dash outline the as of right sidewall envelope. And that small red triangle is actually the part that is provoking the height variance of being 46 centimeters above the maximum amount. So it's a small amount, and the reason this is desired by the homeowners and why we've designed it like this is because this angle of the roof will allow us to place solar panels on the roof, which the owner really wants to do. So that in combination with trying to maintain adequate ceiling heights in this narrow lot that are going to make the home appealing has caused this small height variance on the side. But as I've been trying to explain, that blue envelope, that blue dash line I have shown here would be the as of right blue dash line if just the front dormer was less wide. But I think it's acceptable because that dormer is facing the front and the back is staggered. So I believe that that width of that front dormer is not creating that kind of impact. And it's really just the zoning examiner that picked our sidewalls as the variance rather than the front ones because they have the higher number.
If we were to approve this, would you have any concerns with us tying it to the side elevation?
Not at all. In fact, I definitely, this is exactly what we want to do.
Okay. Any further questions? Okay, let's go into committee. Phil?
Yeah, so the question I was going to ask, but then he just addressed it, was don't the photos show that the fire took out the tree that forestry was concerned about? And it seems like that's the case. You know, if it's demolition crew cleaning up after a fire, I mean, that's what insurance demolition crews are tend to do. So I think in this case, forestry just has sort of made a bit of an error looking at the previous condition. That tree is gone, and through no fault of anyone but the fire, I would put it. The planning condition, I think the agent has done a very good job of, or planning issue of sort of explaining how their design it might actually achieve something better than the as of right. And I tend to agree with the explanation that they've given. A canted roof is better for a home than a flat roof in any event. It prevents water damage, the potential to put up the solar panels if that's what they want to do. And then same thing with the dormer. They've sort of shown, sure, it becomes a front wall height issue, but the wider dormer makes more sense from a design perspective, less impactful. So I tend to agree with the agent and view it as supportable, but maybe with that condition about the side elevation, so the intrusion of the wall height variance is limited to what this design does.
Okay. Thank you. Phil or Ryan?
Thank you to the agent for that really descriptive description and response to concerns, and I agree with my colleague that overall it's supportable.
Okay. And Phil, want to make a motion?
Sure, yeah, I'll make a motion. I, in the circumstances, will not make it subject to a forestry condition, but I will make it subject to, or actually, to the Secretary Treasurer, would this be appropriate? I forget, I think it's condition 3, the one about, or is there an alternate condition that you would recommend?
For urban forestry?
For urban forestry?
They had
Plant a tree? Do they have to replace a tree?
Yeah, so they have it as condition number 1.
Oh, they did.
Yeah,
Okay.
for city tree.
Oh, sorry, that's my mistake
Yeah.
for missing that. Okay, so
probably.
Yeah, I would impose forestry condition 1, and then I would tie approval to substantial accordance with the north elevation.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Ghosh to that effect, seconded by Mr. Bissonnette. All in favor? Okay, you have your approval, sir. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair. We did defer item number 11. Perhaps we can proceed with item number 12, and then we can go back to item number 8.
Okay. Good plan. All right. Number 12 is 57 Spadina Avenue. This is an application to alter development standards for a 36-story mixed-use building to increase the maximum permitted residential gross floor area and to reduce the rate of short-term bicycle parking spaces on site. Committee has before a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 6 photographs of trees on the subject property, covering letter from the agent, previous decision numbers affecting the subject property. We have email correspondence from the agent. We have a servicing review letter and the copies of the site-specific zoning bylaws affecting the subject property. We have staff reports from Transportation Review, Community Planning, and Metrolinx.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent here in person, no registered speakers for this item.
Welcome back, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, for the record, Sean McGaffey, Senior Associate, WND Associates, 47 Roselawn Avenue in Toronto. And we did submit the little presentation if maybe you'd like to pull that up. But really, I think the planning report covers off quite well what this project actually is about. I've been engaged on this file now going back to 2016. Tricon completed construction of this building. The bylaw had initially planned for this site to include several floors of non-residential or office uses and residential uses above. Over the years since the building has been completed, maybe if you could just go through the next slide there for me, they have continued to try and market this non-residential space. They were successful in tenanting the ground floor as the Neo Cafe. And we were actually before this committee in 2022 to remove the office requirement and allow a broader range of non-residential uses to be marketed for that space. It is still untenanted today. Part of that decision in 2022 was to allow potentially a hotel to occupy those floors. That has also remained untenanted. And so what we have done and what our client has done with the city is look at repurposing those floors for additional rental residential units, 9 of which are will be secured with the city as affordable dwelling units as part of the city's rental program. And they'll be secured for a term of 40 years included within the building. So it's a total of 52 new residential units, 9 of which will be affordable. There's no changes to any of the exterior design, construction of the building. Everything will take place indoors. Residents will have access to the full range of amenities in the building, which we don't actually have to modify the amenity rate because it already exceeds the requirement of the bylaw. Parking, again, no issues there. Bicycle parking, we are deficient in 10 spaces based on the uptick in units, just given the space requirements of the site. Transportation has indicated that that can be addressed through the cash and lieu program. We have no issue with that. And that's, I think, my submission to you. There's conditions recommended. I neglected to include the one from Metrolinx in the next slide of this presentation, but we are amendable to that Metrolinx condition as well. I believe it already exists on the site plan agreement that's registered, so no concerns.
Okay, thank you, sir. I do recall this when it was before we did the transition.
Yes.
I am curious, irrespective of the variances being requested, is it a unique feature of this particular location that they're having difficulty marketing to those types of uses? Is it proximity to the well or other things? Like, what's the? I'm just curious more. We're seeing, not surprisingly, with the economy going the way it is, we're seeing some of this elsewhere.
Yeah, I think in general, there was obviously a pretty significant downturn in the demand for office space, which was why we were back.
Right.
We're trying to look at different non-residential uses. Part of it could be the location. I mean, there is a lot of non-residential that has come online in the area in things like the well, which is, sort of kitty corner to this. It could also be the layout of the space. It's a relatively slender bar building that extends deep into the site with relatively limited frontage onto Spadina Avenue. I'm not sure if there's one particular reason in general or if it's sort of a culmination of a number of issues, but they have it has been tried for many years now, and this seems to be the best path forward to make use of that space and be able to deliver some affordable housing at the same time.
Okay, great, thank you. Panel, any questions? None? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Take it into committee.
We can start. So my thoughts initially, I wasn't on the panel when this was here before, but so looking at it, I like mixed use in areas like this, and I was a little concerned, but the explanation in the planning report and the explanation we got today satisfies me. That they've been making efforts. No one would want to leave this space empty for this amount of time if there was any ability to fill it. So I think the need in this situation to make better use of that existing built space is genuine. And so in that context, securing some affordable units is also quite favorable. So for those reasons, maybe I would just move right into a motion to approve, subject to the transportation condition and the planning condition. And since they said they're agreeable, we'll say the Metrolinx as well.
Okay, motion by Mr. Ghosh with those conditions.
Sorry, through you, Mr. Chair, that's the warning clause, right? For the Metrolinx? Yeah, okay. Not the environmental easement?
Exactly, it's the warning clause.
Okay.
The easement might be in their site plan.
Yeah.
Seconded by Mr. Bissonnette. All in favor. Thank you for coming down. You have your approval. Sabrina, we're going back to
Yes,
number 8.
Let's go back to number 8. We'll get the agent online.
Yep, I'm here. Can
Oh,
you
hi
hear me?
there. So how'd you make out, sir?
Yep, no, we made out well, spoke with the homeowner, and we did some quick calculations. So we basically the rear area between the house, the rear of the house to the front of the existing garage is 23 square meters. And homeowner would be prepared to remove the hardscaping in that area with softscape and have a loose lay stone or walkway between the house and the garage for access. So that would give us a softscape, or excuse me, a softscape area of 19.2 square meters, or approximately 27%.
Okay. Thank you very much. Panel, any questions of the agent? All right, let's go into committee. I think that's a reasonable approach and much better than the original application. So, Phil, do you want to take this one?
Yeah. Since I was taking the lead on exploring that area, I figure I might as well move the motion. I think subject to that amendment, it's an approvable application, so I would move to approve the application as revised, as amended.
Okay, motion.
Subject to.
You're going to change the description too, of making it semi?
Yeah, the purpose will read semi-detached, and then the amendment to variance number 4 and urban forestry number 1.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Motion by Mr. Ghosh with those conditions, second by Mr. Bissonnette. All in favor? You have your approval, sir. Thank you very much.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So now we go to item 13.
Okay. Item 13 is 75 BADGEROW Avenue. This is an application to alter the existing 2.5-story detached dwelling by constructing a front covered porch with stairs. Committee has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, red line public notice, received July 15th, 2 photographs of trees on the subject property, a covering letter from the agent, and an order to comply affecting the subject property. We have staff report from Metrolinx and correspondence and support from 73 and 77 BADGEROW.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent online, no registered speakers for this item. If the applicant can also speak to the order to comply, the purpose of application may have to be amended as well.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, committee members. My name is Elroy Van Grohl. I'm the applicant for this. I'm from Van Grohl and Associates. We're an architectural firm located at 2 St. Clair Avenue West in Toronto.
Okay, sir, you heard the Deputy Secretary Treasurer ask about the order to comply. Otherwise, it's a fairly straightforward porch enclosure. Can you respond to that, please?
So the owner of the house started this project with a contractor and was advised by the contractor that they were building a new porch to replace an existing platform and that they would not need a building permit. So the owner, taking the advice of the contractor, commenced the construction of a new platform a new front porch, and then was obviously seen by either the neighbors or a building inspector and received an order to comply because they clearly needed a building permit. So once the owner realized that, they prepared drawings to apply for the building permit. Once they applied for the building permit, they discovered that they needed a variance. And so we applied to the Committee of Adjustment for the variance, and we are before you now.
Okay.
This is, I would say, young owners, not fully aware of codes and permits and so on, and being told by a contractor that they didn't need to worry about it And now we are faced with the consequences of that, but they have also learned that they do need a permit and sometimes even a committee of adjustment in order to achieve the addition that they're looking to do here.
Okay, thank you, sir. I also noticed you've got a red line public notice, so you've made some minor adjustments to the variances? Clarification.
The original drawing had the north arrow pointing the wrong way, so we had erroneously described a north setback as a south setback, or the other way around. So we clarified that in the red lines.
Okay. All right. Any questions, panel? All right, sir. That seems like an understandable explanation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sabrina, do we need to change the purpose? We're good. All right. Let's take it into committee.
Yeah, happy to put forward a motion to approve the variances requested.
Okay.
I don't see any conditions.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we're just making those minor adjustments to variance number 3 and variance number 4 as outlined on the public notice, red line public notice.
Okay. All right, motion by Mr. Bissonnette to approve, seconded by Mr. Gauche. All in favor? You have your approval. Thank you. Okay, item 14 has been deferred. Move to item 15. 107 Peterborough Avenue. This is an application to construct a one-story detached garage in the front yard abutting Peterborough Avenue. Committee has before it a copy plan of survey, site plan, floor plans and elevations, an arborist report, and presentation materials from the agent. We have 9 form letters in support from owners occupants of Peterborough Avenue, Auburn Avenue, Green, and Greenlaw Avenue.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the agent online, no registered speakers for this item.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Yes, my name is Jose Romero.
Mr. Romero, there's a little bit of an echo there. Have you got more than one device on?
I applied for the.
Can you if you've got 2 devices on, could you turn one of them off?
Let me check. Hello?
Yeah, there's still a bit of an echo, sir.
Okay. Let me see. I don't have that second device.
Can we give Mr. Romero a call?
Yes.
So say, hang on, sir. We're going to call you right back. And
Okay.
Okay, hang on.
Hello?
Hi. It's Committee of Adjustment here.
I think you're from.
Hello, sir. Is this Mr. Romano?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We'll just see if we can muddle through with this. Sir, can we just have your full name and address, please, for the record?
Again, you want to use my phone?
I don't know what
Anyway.
the solution is here.
Now,
Hang on a sec, sir. We're just trying to fix this problem. Sorry, sir, are you still there?
hello?
Yeah, why don't we just, sir, we're still having some difficulty, but we're gonna try and get through this with you. So just have some patience. Can I have your name and address, sir, for the record? Sir, can you hear me?
No te van a ver, María está mal.
Mr. Romano, are you there?
Yes, I am here.
Okay. So we're having a little bit of feedback issues, but we're going to try and get through this, okay? So can I have your name and address for the record, please?
My name is Joseph Romero.
Address, sir?
Number 416-570-3222.
And your address, sir?
Pardon me?
Your address.
My address is it's a 25 years Esplanade, Toronto, Ontario. Unit 51.
Okay. I'm going to assume you guys caught that. Okay, sir, just hang on a second. Panel, do you need a presentation on this?
There's no speakers?
No speakers.
I don't.
All right, sir, we don't need a presentation today. We understand your application. We've read all the material. We may have a question. Does anyone have any questions? Sir, my question would be where you're going to put the garage. Is there a structure already there?
And the left, it's only existing the house. And the right side is nothing. But in 1973, it was existing framing garage. They applied for permit in July 1973 for demolish existing garage and build a new one for concrete block, but they never built.
Right. I'm just looking at the Google image, and it looks like there's a structure there. You're saying that there's no structure there?
No, it was demolished.
It was demolished?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so right now it's vacant, and you want to put a garage there?
Yeah.
Roughly where the former building was before you demolished it?
The building inspector already closed the one file was existing construction in the right side.
Right.
Was already closed by the building inspector.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. Any other questions? Thanks. Thank you, sir. We'll take this into committee. This looks like a fairly prevailing kind of condition, guys. And there was already a building there several years ago. It's been demolished since, so.
Yeah, I put forward the
Yep.
motion to approve the variances.
No conditions?
No condition.
All right, motion by Mr. Bissonnette to approve, seconded by Mr.
Second it.
Ghosh.
I will say it's not my favorite for this area, but I think because of the prevailing condition, it is minor, and for that reason, approvable.
Okay, seconded by Mr. Ghosh. All in favor? You have your approval, Mr. Romano. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we can deal with items 16 and 17 together. And we do have the agent here in person, and we do have some registered speakers in opposition.
Okay, Mr. Benkowski.
Yes,
Good afternoon,
Wait,
sir.
wait, you'll have to read it in.
Oh, yeah, no, I was just going to ask him,
Okay.
because he was shaking his head about putting the two together before we do that.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I would prefer they be dealt with separately just because one has a variance related to the garage. They're essentially similar proposals, but because one has a variance related to the garage, I would like them to be separate. When we get to the second application, which involves the garage, my presentation will essentially remain the same, but I would just add the stuff to the garage if that's okay with the.
Okay, no, that's fine. I think what we're trying to do is just blend the two together in terms of context.
Exactly.
Okay.
So essentially my presentation as the variances will match, and then when we go to the second application, I will deal with the garage and the intended purpose of the zoning bylaw and how that relates to the proposal as overall.
All right, folks will have to bear with me as I read both of them into the record. Item number 16 is 32 Fernwood Park Avenue. This is an application to alter the existing three-story semi-detached duplex dwelling by constructing a partial fourth-story addition, a rear second-level deck, a raised front porch with stairs and canopy, and a front and rear basement walkouts. One parking space will be located in the rear yard, which will be accessed from a shared mutual right-of-way between 30 and 32 Fernwood Park Avenue. There will be a total of 2 residential dwelling units on this lot. Committee has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. Revised site plan, floor plans, and elevations received July 17th. Red line public notice received July 17th. A revised zoning waiver received July 17th. Covering letter from the agent received July 17th. We have decision numbers affecting properties at previous decision numbers affecting 32 and 34 Fernwood. Email correspondence from the agent, arborist report, a rental housing demolition conversion screening form, copy of email correspondence between the agent and neighbors, and presentation materials from the agent. We have staff report from Urban Forestry, correspondence and support from 45 Fernwood and 43 Fernwood. We have correspondence and concern from 28 Fernwood, and correspondence and opposition from 35, 36, again 35, 34A, 40, and 35, again Fernwood Park Avenue. That is 32 Fernwood. 34 Fernwood is an application to alter existing three-story semi-detached duplex dwelling by constructing an integral garage, partial fourth-story addition, a rear second-level deck, a raised front porch with stairs and canopy, and front and rear basement walkouts. There'll be a total of 2 residential dwelling units on this lot. Committee has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. Revised site plan, floor plans, and elevations received July 17th. Red line public notice from July 17th. A revised zoning waiver received July 17th. Covering letter from the agent. Previous decision numbers from 32 and 34 Fernwood. We have correspondence from the agent, arborist report, rental housing, demolition and conversion screening form, copy of an email correspondence from the agent to neighbors, copy of email correspondence between the owner and tenant. We have presentation materials from the agent, correspondence and support from, again, 45 and 43 Fernwood, interest and concern from 28 Fernwood, and opposition from, looks like the same addresses, 35, 36, 35, 34A, 40, and 35 Fernwood Park Avenue. Now, Mr. Binkowski, name and address for the record.
Yes, Jonathan Binskowski, 301 Keewatin Avenue.
Okay. First of all, there's some red line variances. Before we start your presentation, can we just kind of go through and confirm what the committee has before it?
Yes, Mr. Chair. So in terms of 32 Fernwood, the request for the exterior main wall height has been removed. That would read as variance number 4 on the public notice. And as it relates to 34 Fernwood Park Avenue, again, the similar elimination of the main wall height variance, and that would be variance number 6 on the public notice.
Okay, so that's fine. The question I would have, are you still keeping 3, which is the first floor for over established grade? Like, doesn't
Yes.
that change as well, or are you just?
Does not. That remains the same, and I'll review that. Basically, in my first slide, I'm going to go over how that's changed and really the uniqueness of this property. But I'm going into my presentation a little bit. Yes, I will review that in my presentation.
All right, sir, you have 5 minutes.
Perfect. So if we could go to page number 2 of my support material. I just put a quick comparison of the original proposal on the left of the screen and then the zoning bylaw compliant proposal on the right of the screen. So the multiplex zoning bylaw permits a 1.4 meter recessed rear area, and then you are able to go over the exterior main wall height. Now I know when I first looked at it, I said, well, wow, I'm not going to be okay because I'm still over height. If we go to the second slide, please. A little bit of context of the zoning category this property is in. This property actually permits a height of 13 meters as of right. That's multiplex. That is the standard zoning for this property permits a height of 13 meters. So by recessing the rear area, we don't even have to drop the actual height of the dwelling to be zoning bylaw compliant. So what that means is the massing of the dwelling as it faces Fernwood, as it faces the rear, and as it faces the north and the south is zoning bylaw compliant. The dwelling is actually below the 13 meters that is permitted. And again, by recessing that rear main wall, we eliminate the variance for the excessive height of the main wall. So again, the massing is exactly 100% zoning bylaw compliant as it faces the street. Now, to your question, Mr. Chair, and I hope I kind of answered it in that explanation. The height of the dwelling didn't actually have to drop. It just had to be recessed at the rear to meet the intent and really purpose of the multiplex zoning bylaw, which again, similar to, we had some conversations earlier, I believe, with Mr. Bronskill about a rear angular plane. The city has gone away from angular planes, really in mid-rises also, more to stepping back, and this is indicative of that, the new policies of also mid-rise buildings. So just a couple of points I'd like to examine here. The existing building length and depth of the dwelling remains exactly as it is today. There is no addition at the front and there is no addition at the rear of the property. Coincidentally, it is a semi-detached existing. There is no reduction to the north setback or the south setback, as again, this is a renovation of a property. This is not new construction. If we could just zoom in on the top left, although we are zoning bylaw compliant, I did want to briefly just look at what the streetscape of Fern will interpret as they see this building. So from Fern Avenue, if you were standing at the edge of the sidewalk at Fern Avenue, the 4th floor of the dwelling is recessed back 10.04 meters or 32 feet 11. So as you stand on the sidewalk, this recessed 4th floor, which again, 4 floors is permitted under the new multiplex, you will not even see this. Your eye of sight and your angular sight line, this won't even be visible from the street line itself. Again, being recessed 10.04 meters back from the sidewalk. And that's important because it will present itself as a 3-story dwelling. More importantly, it will present itself as a 3-story dwelling with a height of 10.47 meters, well below what is permitted in the zoning bylaw at 13 meters. If we could go to the next slide, please. If we could kind of zoom in on the front. I did want to address the stair encroachment into the required front yard setback. Although the front wall of the dwelling at grade is being maintained, the stairs are being pushed further towards the actual property line itself. So what I've done here is I've given you the existing front yard setback of 32 and 34 to the stairs itself. And if we look at that setback, the existing today is at 0.83. We are proposing 0.33 for number 32 and 0.09 for 34. In contrast, what we have today is 0.83 at 32 and 0.65 at 34. Again, taking into account the boulevard at 3.19 meters or 10 feet, it's my definite opinion that the impact of that stair being pushed forward would not be felt from the sidewalk. Again, with the separation that's already there at essentially a little bit over 3 meters, again, with that. So in terms of the impact of the stairs, I don't see an impact from the streetscape or it negatively impacting the neighborhood itself. If we could go to the next slide, please. Although labeled existing stairs, this should be labeled existing platform. So we also have some encroachments for the existing platform. Now, when we renovate the front of the dwelling and we redo the portions of the front that relate to the setback, we are now subject to the entirety of the zoning bylaw. So as you can see here on the left, there already is an overhang over the easement to the south. Sorry, it is within the property. There is an easement there, but that is simply being maintained and rebuilt. So again, as those encroachments to the north and the south for both 32 and 34 sit, they are essentially exactly what is there today and they match. But again, because they are being reconstructed, we are subject to the entirety of the zoning bylaw. If we could go to the next slide, please. Oh, so this in terms of the elevation of the front platform, what I've done here is I've taken, again, basically just this subject block of FERNWOOD, which isn't very long. And again, you'll see on the screen here, dwellings with a similar raised first floor. This is, again, a street that's on somewhat of a gradient from the south to the north. There is a significant grade change, and that is often made up through elevated platforms. So we can see here an example of, although there's only 8 pictures, there's actually 11 of the dwellings there itself have a similar situation with a pushed up front platform. In fact, some people have parking kind of under the front porch or in front of the front porch. Again, being in a compact neighborhood, you have a situation like this. If we could go to the next slide, please. And thank you, Mr. Chair, because I guess I'm kind of doing both at once.
Yes.
So, okay, perfect. So I wanted to put this here really as the last image we see. Again, to go over what the proposal is. This is a renovation of an existing dwelling that is compliant with every provision of the zoning bylaw as it relates to massing. It is not over height. It is not over main wall height. It is not over building length. It is not over building depth. There is no reduction requested for a north side yard setback, a south side yard setback, a front setback, or a rear setback. Lastly, I would like to address the garage and then the rear platform as it relates to 34. The provisions of the zoning bylaw dictate a minimum lot frontage that associates a garage being permitted in a dwelling. In my opinion, as a professional planner, that intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw is to limit essentially row townhouses and reduce lot frontages from having a series of garages that dominate the massing of a street. So essentially, the goal is not to have a garage, a door, a garage, a door, and so on. It really is to break up that massing. Now, in this instance, there's 2 aspects that break up this massing. This is a semi-detached dwelling. And at the beginning, I did say I wanted to separate them slightly because of the garage. The garage is only proposed on one of the properties. The garage is not proposed on both houses. So what that does to the actual massing of the dwelling as it relates to the streetscape with that garage door, and I'm going to do some math that may need some clarification because I hope it comes out succinctly. Each dwelling right now is 4.93 meters. If I take the zoning bylaw, if this were to be a new dwelling on this site, the new dwelling itself would be 6.8 meters in width. We take that 7.5 meters and we relate it to now what the massing of the 2 dwellings, and I can see you, Mr. Chair, looking up because I already think I may have gone in a little bit of a circle, and I'll correct it if I need to. The massing of the 2 dwellings, of the semi-detached dwellings, as it faces Fernwood, is 9.86 meters. So again, I'm not sitting here pretending that I have a 9.86 meter lot. I don't, but I have a dwelling that masses Fernwood at 9.86 meters, and that leads to the appropriateness of having a parking spot on a lot. If this were a detached dwelling where, again, the massing of that dwelling was just a garage door and a stairs, I wouldn't be here before you defending that. In this instance, that massing of the actual dwelling itself is 9.86 meters. So you essentially have a door, a garage, a livable space, and then a stair to access 32, which in my opinion mitigates that impact as it faces the street. We're also going to hear some conversations regarding loss of parking. We're not here as an issue of loss of parking. The intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw as it relates to the provision of the lot frontage has nothing to do with the loss of parking. But what I can tell you is if this were to be granted, in effect, it would actually permit 2-car parking on this property where one functional spot would be maintained. If we could go to the site plan very quickly, I'm just about to wrap up. If we could just go to the site plan very quickly, I did just want to draw attention to what would be left. If this were granted and the curb cut were provided for 34, there would still be 5.2 meters between the new curb cut located at the south of the property and the existing curb cut that accessed the easement in the rear yard, which is proposed to provide parking for 32. The last one I wanted to address is the platform as it relates to 34. There is a request for the setback of the platform at 34. What I would say is that impact, again, is mitigated by the fact that the dwelling to the north really almost extends halfway into the deck that's there. So in terms of privacy and overlook, the dwelling itself actually extends into most of the rear yard. Thank you for giving me the extra time. That's essentially what I have to say.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. We have some folks who want to speak, so if we can hold our questions until we hear from them, that'd be great. Is there someone here speaking to this item?
Yes, there is, sir.
Okay, you want to come up, sir?
Yes, sir. Just waiting for Mr. Paczynski to leave. Thank you.
All right, sir. Name and address, please. I see you guys have been here for a long time.
Yes, we have, sir. It's been very interesting. Let me say that I have fair background in administrative law, but I have zero background in your tribunal. And please excuse any transgressions or digressions that I may commit along the way. Bring me up on them. I can assure you they're unintentional.
All right, sir. Your name and address, please.
Paul Somerville. That's SOMMERVILLE. I'm at 1231 Danforth Avenue. And I'm appearing as for my principal, Ron Peterson, who is a tenant in 34 Fernwood.
So in the subject building?
That's right. This is a semi-detached building, sir. They share a wall. Yep. I also want to point out that I will not be addressing any of the landlord and tenant issues that are inherent in this situation. I won't be addressing them. They are not trivial, but they're not going to be part of anything that I say today.
All right, sir. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you, sir. Now, to get to the point, Mr. Brzezinski, I beg your pardon, sir, has spent a fair amount of time telling you why he doesn't need your input, that his application is in fact already in compliance, but we know that that's not so. We have provided a written submission that dealt with the divergences point by point, and I don't intend to go through those point by point. You have those in your record and you can deal with them. I do want to say this, however. The applicant purchased this subject property, he's never occupied the property, recently with full knowledge of the configuration of the building and the tenancy status, and at a price that reflected those realities. This application, and this is a signal effect of this application will eliminate 4 affordable housing units and replace them with a large single-family dwelling with 1 upscale rental unit in the basement. So 4 affordable housing opportunities disappear with this application. That's its intent. That's what it's focused to do. The nature of this building, its place in a consistent, practical, cohesive, and coherent neighborhood, the configuration of this building where this transformation, and it's nothing less than that, were this transformation to occur, would create an outlier of significant note. I've heard an earlier conversation about the aesthetic and the fact that it's not part of this tribunal's mandate to deal with the aesthetics, but I do believe that it is part of this tribunal's mandate to ensure that any change to the neighborhood is consistent with a cohesive, coherent, practical, and reasonable outcome, that you don't create a flashing red light in the middle of a cohesive neighborhood. And that's exactly what this would create. The idea that these variations are minor in nature is, in my view, a fantasy. This application is absolutely transformative of this property. As I said, it's intended to remove, and this is its stated intention, it's intended to remove 4 affordable housing units, and I note that my friend, Mr. Benchowski, referenced parking. This also compromises parking in an area where parking is at a premium. So I submit that none of these variances taken separately, and I've tried to document that in my filed materials, none of these variances can be described as minor, just one by one by one. And taken together, they are not minor. This is not a minor variance application. This is a transformation of this property and a transformation of the neighborhood to some extent. So I'm giving back 43 seconds, sir.
Great.
If you have any questions of me, I'd be happy to answer.
You have referred to these existing units as affordable. Affordable rental has a very specific definition in the context of what we're dealing with, and it's got very specific. So when you say affordable, is it just does it meet the definition of what affordable, which means it's means tested and it's like approved by the appropriate authorities?
I don't know that it meets that formal definition, sir, but I know that these are modest rental units.
Right. So that's what I was getting. It's not an expensive place. But it doesn't actually meet the official definition, what we would consider to be affordable units.
It may or may not.
Okay. Fair enough.
And it's a small A affordable as opposed to a large A.
Thank you, sir. And you've raised some concerns about the neighborhood. But your principal concern, I guess, is for your client and the clients.
Well, of course. Now we have.
But your clients is I presume they're going to be dislocated.
Oh yes.
Okay, so that's your principal concern.
Well, that's a principal concern, and as a citizen of the city, I have some broader concerns. But my concern for my principal relates to the circumstance that he's going to be unhoused.
Yes. Okay. I just wanted to clarify that, because you talked about character and a lot of other things, but in terms of representing the interests of your clients, it's really, they're going to be dislocated.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Indeed.
Anyone else have any questions? Phil?
Yeah, and which unit again is your client living in right now?
34A.
Okay.
Fernwood Park Avenue.
Okay. Thank you.
Ronald C. Peterson.
Thank you, sir. Anything further? No.
I should point out, Mr. Chair, that members of or neighbors of the property have come out today to observe.
That's great.
And that's who these folks are.
Thank you very much for coming, and welcome, and hope we haven't bored you too much.
Oh yeah, and all in opposition.
Of course. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
We have. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, then we'll hear from the owner at 30 Fernwood Park Avenue.
Okay, good afternoon. Mr. Wang.
Yes.
Name and address, please, for the record.
My name is Daniel Wong, spelled W-A-N-G. I live at 30 Fernwood Park Avenue.
All right, sir, you have 5 minutes.
Okay. I was told by the application technician my letter sent on the 14th was actually not received, so it's in the extra late folder.
I think it's up on the screen now, sir.
Oh, I see it. Sorry. All right, so I'll keep it very short. I'm just going to summarize the letter, if you don't mind. And okay, just pulling this up. All right. Good morning, Committee Member. Okay, I'm not really here to oppose development. In fact, I'm actually supporting housing solutions that are thoughtful, fair, and truly livable. But this application from 32 to 34 Fernwood is not that. What's being proposed would eliminate 3 functional parking spots currently used by 34 Fernwood, replace them with 1 awkward, historically unused space behind 32 Fernwood. I'm at 30. A space that's actually used for snow storage and maneuvering of vehicles. Meanwhile, the proposed front yard driveway at 34 Fernwood would permanently remove 1, possibly 2 precious street parking spaces with a curb cut. On a one-way street, which has 17 usable spots, 1 is handicap accessible. With the 58 homes that's there, most of them actually multi-family, like duplexes and triplexes and fourplexes. The street will be impassable in back-to-back storms. And there's no plan in the application for how to deal with this reality. So, sorry, I'm just gonna. So in the winter, it gets worse. And I personally shoveled my 101-foot shared driveway by hand. After big snowfalls, I have to pile snows up to 6 feet high across the front yards of 28 to 36 Fernwood. If this proposal goes through, we lose the very space we rely on that. The street could become impassable in back-to-back storm, and that has happened this past winter storm, and our mayor has acknowledged that. On top of that, a rear drainage currently flows into my property, into the basement of 32 Fernwood, a longstanding issue that's not addressed at all in this proposal. The application isn't minor in scale. It's not minor even in impact. It subtracts parking, blocks access, weakens safety, and adds no real housing. I respectfully urge the committee to, at the very least, defer these applications until some good solutions are brought forth. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Panel, any questions of the speaker? No? Thank you very much, sir.
Okay.
We have someone else?
To you, Mr. Chair, that's it for speakers. We did have a speaker at 18 Hammersmith Avenue, but they're not online.
Okay. All right, Mr. Benkowski.
Yes. Thank you, neighbors. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't want to dwell on it too much, but the first thing I wrote in my notes was the comment about the affordable rental units. Just because somebody's been living there for a while, rent hasn't been increased, that does not meet the definition of an affordable rental unit. I also want to note that the building itself is in great disrepair. It has knob and tube wiring. It has black mold throughout it. So in terms of the building itself, it is in a state of disrepair from when my client bought it. Again, I don't want to spend a lot of time on the concerns of the solicitor here about the relocation. I would just like to say the tenant has been offered 6 months of rent-free, as well as being helped to, and you are aware of that. Thank you for that. You are aware of that, and he's been offered 6 months of free rent, as well as the option to have them help find. Let's go back to the application itself. Again, this is a renovation of a zoning bylaw compliant massed house. Again, the height is as compliant. If we took the existing house that was there, we could do that exact same side addition, okay, to add that 4th floor with the heights exactly of what is before you today. There is no variance for that. There was also a comment made about kind of more or less respecting and reinforcing the physical character of a neighborhood. That, again, 100%, 4.1 of the official plan speaks to that. But that is then implemented through the policies of the zoning bylaw. So that consistency of respecting and reinforcing that we hear of in the official plan translates into the zoning permissions of what is on the ground. And again, in terms of what is on the ground, we have a dwelling that is being renovated with a height that is compliant and a side wall, main wall height that is compliant. That therefore tells us, in terms of the 4.1 test, that is respecting and reinforcing the neighborhood, because there is no variance for it. We can't do backwards planning of speaking of respecting and reinforcing something, then being compliant with those aspects and saying, well, it's not satisfying the test. I'm afraid it just doesn't work that way. In terms of the neighbor to the south, I was frankly a little bit confused by some of it. They share, they don't share a drive. Number 32 has an easement over number 30, and you can see that to the south portion to pass over it. Now, there is a small reciprocal easement on this property, very minimal in size. So I didn't quite understand the comment about shoveling the drive. I mean, that is essentially Mr. Wang's property on number 30. He owns it. Number 32 is just granted access over it. So that's important in that that's not going to change. There is no reduction in that setback. That portion is not owned by 32. They are just granted permission through the title to access it over number 30. I didn't really hear a lot about the impact of the variances that are before you. I didn't really hear anything about the canopies. I didn't hear anything about the stairs. The discussion had to do with the parking, more of the loss of a parking space rather than the zoning provision that was before you. The intent of the zoning bylaw, again, in my opinion, is not as it relates to the reduction of parking. But what I could tell you this, if the concern from the neighborhood is that 2 spaces will be lost, well, the good thing is 2 spaces will be provided. Additionally, as Mr. Wang said, the unused portion behind number 32 will now be offered as parking. So in essence, there will be now a surplus of 1 spot. In closing, I do just want to state, and committee, I know you're very familiar with this, you hear this a lot, it's an argument between, if we come with no parking on a multiplex, where are people going to park? If you provide parking for a multiplex, we're taking away parking. It's a real struggle we're dealing with, not in the downtown core, but really throughout the city of how to deal with this. But again, in my opinion, the subtraction, and I don't even believe it is a subtraction of 2 spaces, because the curb cut is only proposed at 2.9 meters. Standard car space is 5.6 meters. I actually don't believe it's eliminating 2 spots. But in essence, we will now be providing 3 spots for the 4 rental units. I'm happy to answer any questions. Again, the committee might.
Great, thank you. Panel, any questions? Phil?
So the applications say it's to alter, so it means that the whole thing is not getting torn down. What is being retained? Is it just exterior walls?
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
because the actual floor heights seem to be new as well.
So there's some alterations to the floor heights, absolutely. So the exterior walls are remaining. Essentially, a rim board will be put on the north and the south walls and not rammed in, but essentially bolted into the existing structure where the new floor joists will sit on top.
Yeah, and
Correct.
Essentially because variances would be different if it was a new build, or?
We would not, well, yes, it would be, because the side yard setbacks would have to be in compliance at 0.9. The building length would be okay because of the provisions in the building depth, but essentially the side yard setbacks would alter. But again, what that would do is, again, these setbacks are really historic throughout this street. It's a very, very tightly compact street. I have no disagreement with that. It is tightly compact. But again, one of the big variances would be the side yard setback. Coincidentally, we're not getting relief for the existing the existing canopies that sit there because of the renovation that's being taken place.
Okay, so the variance that sort of concerns me the most is the height of the first floor above grade, and that's variance 3 for 32, variance 1 for 34. What's the reason? Because if we look at the front elevation, it's like it really is like going up a full staircase to get to the first floor unit. What's maybe speak to
Yes.
the purpose of this?
Okay, so two things. The intent and purpose of it as it relates to the zoning bylaw, again, is to have a consistent feel within a neighborhood of not having platforms raised that dominate the streetscape, very similar to the idea behind the garages. If we could just go to my photo book, I'm gonna answer your question through you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Gogan, and then go back into what exists in the neighborhood. The reason this was done was really to try to maximize the livability of the dwelling itself. Again, through the massing, the height of the dwelling, usually we would see a reciprocal overall height variance that would go with that because you're naturally pushing that first floor up. You can't have light onto most of the first floor, so everything goes up with it. In this case, the main wall height and the height are both zoning bylaw compliant. Now, as it relates to what's in the neighborhood itself, like I've illustrated here, we can see even through one of the new builds across the street at 34. If we go to the photo book now, and I put this in here. I didn't want to spend an exorbitant amount of time on it because I think from a planning perspective, decisions and things like that form just part of the discussion because every application is different. Everything is individual. There's unique aspects of every property and of every dwelling. If we could, just go to my photo book. So this is a newly. Yes, I think it's on the next page. I believe it's, yes, that's perfect. That's perfect. We can use that one. So this is essentially directly across the street. This is fairly similar to what is being proposed, except the third floor or the fourth floor. So this is a 4-floor mast house. Again, utilizing the 13-meter maximum height that, again, I stress is not because of it being a multiplex. The 13 meters is permitted on a single-family dwelling also. And there is no story permission here, which means a single-family dwelling can be 13 meters and 4 stories. That's important. So what we see across the street here is essentially a very similar dwelling to what we're proposing. You see the stairs that come to the street line, okay? You also see the garage with the elevated first floor above it. But what's interesting here is look to the house to the right. That house to the right has essentially the exact same situation. Now, it looks smaller mass, it is, but again, we are zoning bylaw compliant with the massing. Now, here you see, again, that car essentially almost parking under that porch itself, okay? So you see an original house that has the same character of what we're proposing, adjacent to a new house that has the same character of what we're proposing. And really, if you go throughout the photo book, you'll see that. So through you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Gogan, if this was a one-off on the street, and this was one dwelling that had this raised platform, and it looked out of place, then we would be having a completely different discussion about the appropriateness of it. But in this case, it exists throughout Fernwood itself, largely because of some of it being the slopes of the property, and second, just being the historical way that they've been constructed.
Last question. So the proposed plan has a main unit on the what's being called the second, third, fourth, but really it's the main second, third, and then an accessory unit in the basement or ground level, depending on how you look at it for both.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Jonathan, so in terms of the basement, are you underpinning? Are you using the existing depth of the current basement?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so you're not not digging down.
No.
Okay. Is it a functional basement now?
It's functional. It's rough. The house is in very rough shape.
Okay. And if you wouldn't mind, you mentioned that what your client has offered the existing tenants. You've also submitted a rental housing demolition and conversion screening form.
Correct.
Could you just share with the panel and those watching what actually that entails?
Yes. So you put in the rental housing demolition screening form. You essentially have to obtain a permit to eliminate the rental units. That is regardless of there being affordable or market rent or regular rent. That process, similar, I keep going back to Mr. Bronskill, that process is very similar to the one that was discussed with the Heritage property at number 1. It is a process that supplements this process here. If that is not to be granted, then this decision is essentially null and void. It's an entirely separate process than to where we are today.
Yeah, no, so you've applied, you haven't yet received approval.
Correct.
Okay, but so that, you know, is up in the air, but in the meantime, it sounds like you've offered, or your client has offered existing tenants some relief.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I did agree a little too quickly. We haven't applied yet. Excuse me.
Sorry, you can't speak. Your time's up. Sorry. No. I'm going to ask you to be quiet, please. Thank you. I'm sorry, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
I did speak a little too soon. We haven't made the application yet. We put in the screening form. So the application has not formally been made.
Okay, but
the screening form has been put in as part of.
You do have to go through
Correct.
that process.
Correct.
It's possible that process could have different outcomes.
Correct.
All right. Any further questions, panel? None? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Phil, you want to start us off?
I have trouble with this one.
Okay.
I have trouble with the variance that I mentioned about the height of the first floor above grade. And I think that it's reflected again in the variance from both applications about the rear main wall height. It's, you know, the fact that these variances are different variances than height of a building is because there is a purpose to them. And, you know, we're raising to have a second floor essentially be the first floor, which is what this is going to look like in the street, just isn't in keeping with the neighborhood. And then it leads to this condition in the rear where it does look like, you know, a 4-story building from top to bottom. We are, you know, in terms of the desirability of the development, which is part of the 4 tests, we're going from 2 large true rental units to 1, you know, they're each going to be single-family homes with an accessory unit in the basement. That is how it's going to look. And then one of the reasons I think for why we've got this, you know, the front doors being on what's essentially the second story, well, firstly, it's to have those accessory units in the basement, which is giving these single-family homes a larger building envelope than they'd have if they were single-family homes rather than duplexes. But secondly, it's to allow that garage right into the home. And, you know, there is a difference between private parking and public parking. So public you know, I do think the agent made a good point that there might actually be more parking that's created, but it's going to be private parking, and it is taking away probably 2 street parking spaces, since if you sort of think of how street parking works, and it's 1 in from the driveway, will a car be able to fit between those 2 driveways? So those are my concerns and challenges with it.
Okay.
Yeah, I struggle with actually both variants 3 and 4. The going to 2.7 meters above established grade, and then the overall rear exterior wall height. I actually don't find these to be minor. I also don't find this to be appropriate or desirable development or use of this land. It's a beautiful street. It's a really narrow road. It's got a mix of owned homes and rental properties. And I think that it's a really peaceful, quiet, and it's ideal setting for urban living. I think this would permanently negatively alter the street, disrupt the character of the street. I think it would disrupt neighbors. I understand there's improvements that are needed to be made to this building, but such a large modern dwelling, I don't feel is appropriate. So I am not supporting these variances.
Okay, I'm frankly not fussed with the design of the house. I think I look up and down this neighborhood, I look at the other adjacent streets. It's very eclectic. There is a wide range of housing types. It looks like a lot of the houses in this area have been renovated, expanded upon, and I think it can accommodate a modern structure. But my concern is height. and I appreciate that there's no variance here, but it just seems to me that there's an opportunity to revise this application in a way that you could underpin the basement. You could drop the basement floor and have a unit in there and still have what I think you're proposing above it. Notwithstanding, I'm a little bit surprised that the bylaw allows a 13-meter house in this neighborhood. I'll take your word for it, and you're removing that variance, so I'm assuming that's correct. But a 13-meter structure on this street, even though there are some 3 stories, but they're all peaked, they all have different roof treatments, and attempts have been made to moderate, I think, their impact on the street. Jonathan, I think there's an application here, but I think there's an opportunity also to revise it in a way that I think would be a little bit more suitable. I fully appreciate the residents' concerns. I don't think there's a dramatic impact on the neighborhood. I sympathize with those tenants that are currently living there, but you know, the process allows for this to happen, and the appropriate steps are being made to address that, and some support has been given to those who would be affected. But I think, from me, it is the elevation, similarly to, I think both my colleagues mentioned this, it is the elevation of the first floor above grade. I think there's an opportunity here to eliminate that or dramatically reduce that, which I think would subsequently improve the massing and improve the overall height dominance of this structure on the street. So look for a motion.
Motion to deny the variances.
Okay, motion by Mr. Bissonnette to...
Sorry, through you, Mr. Chair.
There's two applications.
Yeah, perhaps.
We have to do separate?
Yeah, let's
do 32 Fernwood, number 16 first. Ryan?
Yes, motion to deny the variances.
Okay.
And it would be as amended, because they removed the variance.
Seconded by Mr. Ghosh. All in favor? Similarly, Ryan, can you take number 17?
Yes, motion to deny the variances as amended for 34 Fernwood Park Ave.
Okay, seconded by Mr. Ghosh.
Yep.
Applications are refused.
Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, then we break at 1:28 p.m. and we will commence again at 2:30. Thank you.
Clock's wrong.
Fix that.
Did I?